What's going on, everyone? This is VicFoodStories, and the place where we talk about food in and around Victoria, BC. And today, we're talking sausages. Later, we'll be talking cheese. But right now, I'm with the boys from Haus Sausage, right?
Haus Sausage.
It's not Haus.
No, it's
Or
Haus.
sorry,
What are we
Starting
calling it?
good.
this has already started. It's Haus, right?
We
Haus.
tell everybody it's Haus.
Okay.
We're not actually German.
Okay, so it's Haus.
Yeah.
That's right.
Okay. Because I don't know, I probably said 5 different things over the course of talking about you guys
You're not the first.
to various people.
Every time people come to the shop now, and
Yeah.
they're like, hey, is this Haus Sausage? We just tell them no, and then we ask them to leave. We don't sell them
And then
anything.
they're very
It's
confused.
quite strict.
Yeah.
So I think a very good way to start with you guys is what's your history in the industry? How did you guys start off? Because I feel like there's a real big progression of wherever you started, which I don't know the whole story, to where you are now.
For sure. I mean, both of us were already in the industry before we started and before we met. I came from cooking personally. I was just sort of looking for somewhere to go school-wise, and ended up coming to Victoria with as all kids from Comox do, going to school here. And the culinary program at Camosun sort of picked me up and turned me into a semi-decent cook, and then finished my apprenticeship and just kind of got bored of cooking and was looking for something else to do. Ended up taking a job at the Whole Beast on my days off, and that's where I met Shane.
Yeah, shout out to Corey.
Big shout outs to the man.
Definitely cut my teeth there.
So that's how this all started for you.
I had my chef that I was working under was a Swiss German chef, so I started learning some charcuterie there and doing some sausage making, some charcuterie, and some curing processes over there, but on a very small scale.
Okay. And Shane?
I was an exceptionally poor student, so instead of joining the army, I became a meat cutter for a grocery store.
Really?
Yeah, I was just not like a very good student in high school.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
I liked being around food. So I got like a job close to my house, cutting fish actually. And I decided that was awful. I was like pretty decent at it, but nobody wants to be your friend if you're a fish cutter. And the butchers were like way cooler. So I took a job like cleaning the meat room basically after hours, and they gave me like an apprenticeship, and I think I was 19 when I took it. And then, I did that for a couple of years too. Kind of the same story as Kyle. I like finished my apprenticeship basically like through a grocery store program. And I was like, I've had enough of that. I wanted to go and like I wanted to like see whole animals and do some real butchery. And so I actually applied at the Village Butcher, and they turned me down. They were like, we don't really hire like grocery store guys. And Corey on the other side was like, no, I need a meat cutter. Like, come on in.
Oh, that's perfect.
Like a year went by, and then I met Kyle. We spent like an inordinate amount of time together. Just between like work, and then we'd like go work out, and then we'd like go crush dinner after.
Yeah.
And we'd joke about it. And we'd just be like, oh man, we've hung out for like 15 hours today. Like,
And you weren't sick of each other?
I mean, we were a regular amount of sick of each other.
Well, after 15 hours. I mean,
Yeah.
it's tough. If I'm around somebody for 15 hours, generally I'm a
And
little tired.
that was the key. We were like way less like disgusted with each other than we should be. We're like, man, we could probably do this under much more stressful circumstances.
I remember there was like a specific day where we were in the dish pit at the Whole Beast and whatever, and we were just joking around or whatever, and you like looked, and we just briefly like discussed something about like opening something together, and then we just kind of got past that moment, and you were just like a serious moment, like, would you do that with me? And then I was like, yeah,
So like
maybe.
all the joking sort
And
of
that
just
was just
stopped.
kind of right, or that like sort of began that like seed.
So when was
like,
that?
planted
When
in
was that
moment.
conversation?
That's when we proposed to each other
yeah.
as business
It was
partners.
like so fast. I feel like that was maybe, I don't know, 2016, 2015.
That's got to be right. Yeah. I was 25 or 26 at the time. And
Yeah, somewhere around there. I don't know. We were both working a lot, and the days kind of go into each other. But yeah.
And so you guys are working there. You say that thing, or you say like float the idea, and it doesn't get shot down.
No.
So how does it, like, what's the next step in that process?
Oh man.
we actually broke up like all good couples. We like went our own ways.
Every good story. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there was a while there for a while. We used to go to the sauna quite often after work, and we would jot down like ideas or like discuss like
Which
ideas.
sauna? Where'd you go?
Oak Bay.
Bay Rec and Gordon Head,
Yeah,
I think.
that's where I used to hit the gym and then go do the pool after.
Okay.
So there's quite a bit of time just like sitting in the sauna, just kind of like riffing on ideas or like joking about, delusions of grandeur.
Yeah, there's like a lot of big personalities in like any like butcher shop or kitchen, and so especially like the sauna was like our way to like just kind of josh it off as well as like be creative, right? It was like a way to like decompress from the day and be like, "Do you hear that person said that?" Or like, "Oh man, somebody looks so silly today." But also like, "Hey, what do you think about putting like this in a sausage?" Or like, "Hey, do you think instead of making that smoked, we could dry it?" Or you know,
so that's where the ideas started. You were basically floating ideas as business partners without even realizing it.
Totally.
I'm seeing if you guys can get along.
Yeah.
So how did that sort of evolve at that point? I'm really curious, like honestly, because you guys are so young, that to start a business like this and do it, like seeing the new location that you guys have here, it's unbelievable. It's legitimately a castle. Like everyone needs to come in here and see this place because it's crazy.
No one fight for this castle. Don't bring your army here. Don't put it under siege. Like you can just have it and we'll leave.
But the space is incredible. And so I really would like to get sort of the whole line. So how did the next stage go?
So, I mean, we both actually ended up leaving the whole beast right around the same time. They had a big staff turnover there. Both of us, like Shane said, we had our little breakup, not friend wise or disgruntled wise, but we definitely separated paths for a while. And then you went over and cooked at the Livet, right? That was what you did. And then,
I only went to the Livet once. I made it in one time. I enjoyed it, but it was right when it opened, I think.
Yeah. So I was friends with the chef at Stage at the time, who became the chef at the Livet, and he offered me a job like cooking grill, which was like I was like really fascinated with how kitchens worked. And I'd grown up cooking, but I was not by any means a professional cook. And there was like a wealth, like an ocean of difference between like making food taste good and cooking professionally. And I had a lot to learn, like a ton. I still do. But
trust me, I made breakfast for like the first time the other day ever, like a proper breakfast, and it turned out edible.
Did you use?
I used your guys' bacon.
Did you like
and
that?
The sausage? Oh yeah, it was incredible.
Awesome, man. Thanks.
Yeah, no, it was really good.
Nice.
And then Kyle went the other way.
Yeah. Well, then I mean, when you were working at the Livet, we can just like briefly just chat about when we got into like the Esquimalt, I guess.
Totally.
I went back again and was working back at the place where I did my apprenticeship under the chef there. He needed a sous. So I just kind of backtracked and went back into a little bit of a leadership role there for a summer. But again, just kind of got quite bored of cooking quite quickly. And so I think Shane actually had the first queue that he had been digging around and had lined up like a possibility at Esquimalt Farmers Market for us to maybe jump in and do something, have a stall there.
We had some friends at the time that owned a little bakery. They were a couple.
Yeah.
And Standard Pizza was running their pizzeria like 5 days a week. And at night, we had a buddy and his wife who were like ex-bakers from Philippi, and they would go in and they would bake bread out of Standard Pizza at night. The oven would get crazy hot, and then they would throw loaves in throughout the night and then go to a farmer's market. And they had like a fair amount of success. And so we sat down and we bought them a beer, and we said, like, like you guys, you've kind of killed it. And we didn't really know anything about farmers markets. And we said, like, we can definitely like do this thing. We have all the skills to make a really quality product, but like making the thing and then bringing it somewhere and selling it. And it was very different than bread. Like it was way riskier. It was way harder. There was a lot more for both of us to figure out. How do we keep it cold?
Exactly.
Selling it in the sun.
Because if you have too much stuff and you don't sell it, it goes bad a lot faster and there's less investment, right?
Yeah. And the other big thing was like, how do we show it off? Because we make a really beautiful product, but everyone at that time that was like selling meat was selling it wrapped in paper.
We didn't even know that we could make anything that looked nice back then.
That's true, actually.
We didn't
even know what we were going to make.
Yeah, we didn't even know what we were doing. It was hilarious.
So yeah, I ended up like out of dumb luck just calling the woman, Katrina, who runs this farmers market. Like mad shout out. She's amazing.
She's incredible. She does such a good job with that market.
Yeah.
And like straight up, I just lied to her. I was like, me and my good friend, we're chefs. We like want to like make this pickle company. We like
that was the biggest liable.
We want to like sell pickles.
Yeah. You told her there's a pickle company?
No, I was like, I have a friend. That was the lie.
Not the chef part.
Oh yeah, that too. There's like 5 lies in that sentence. And so she was like, oh, you guys are going to be the pickle guys. Like I used to be a pickle lady. I used to sell pickles, and like you guys are, you're like carrying my torch. And we were like, we sure are. We're going to make so many pickles.
And we did.
We did.
We started making sauerkraut and kimchi in my basement like immediately.
Yep.
Yeah, you were saying that kimchi was like the first thing.
Yeah. What did we do? We went and I mean, it was hilarious. I used to live in this like little basement apartment, and we had like a full like size meat slicer, and we used to just like shred cabbage like in the middle of the night, just like because we were both working still. I mean,
It was insane.
Neither of us quit our jobs, and like I said, I was doing like a management position at a restaurant, and you were still at the Livet, or were you at Sambries then?
I was at the Livet then, yeah.
But we were still like 5 days a week, and so we just decided that we were going to launch this in our off days, and so it was always like production at the middle of the night and just doing weird stuff.
So how much sleep are you getting at that point?
This was still pretty good when we were making kimchi.
Looking back, it was so great, wasn't it?
It was awesome.
Sleeping in every day 4 hours.
It was awesome.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it got crazy, but like because we didn't really know what we were getting into, because the pickles and the kimchi were the easy part, but once we decided that we wanted to do a little bit of sausage making too, to try and like float that out there and get it going. Because it was literally like we had a month to get it going. I think we got everything up and running in about a month.
Yeah, so what were you guys totally called at that point?
That was it. We had no name. We had nothing. Like all this stuff just came. Like we had to sit down and just make a company and try and get it going, and also start producing like the lacto pickles and everything that takes a little bit of time to ferment.
Yeah.
So like all these balls were kind of up in the air, and we were just.
So the pickle thing, did you just make that up?
No, so we knew how to do it, and we still do to this day. Like we make bombs.
So before kimchi. You talked to her, you when the pickle thing, you already knew you could do that.
We knew we could do it. Okay. We knew we could sell it. There was another guy doing it. He did fairly well for himself.
It's just also easy to get into the market that way. It's like a low risk item.
Yeah.
Whereas like to do the meat side, it takes quite a bit more on the VHA side, and all the we still had to get the pH testing and stuff done for the pickles, but it was just an easier avenue to sort of open the conversation, and then we took some liberties and we took a
lot of liberties.
So then when did meat enter the equation? How far into being at the market?
Oh, immediately.
Yeah, we just had to sort out a space. That was the big thing. Like we knew we could get away with the pickles kind of in my house and do some less risky stuff, but we weren't going to set up a butcher shop in my basement. So we found some space at Stage, using Stage at the middle of the night or after they were done service. We were allowed to go in there and start producing and doing some small scale stuff. So that's when it got really.
And what time was that at?
Well, I mean, Stage didn't close till 11 at night, right? So both of us still working full time. I remember we used to start our shifts there at 11. I would get off at 8. I'd try and go crush like 2-3 hours of sleep. I can't remember what schedule you were on. I
was similar. Yeah, we would literally like get off at 9 and like race home, like crush melatonin.
2 hours.
Yeah, try and sleep, and then we'd go and work all night. There were so many funny stories from that kitchen.
Yeah, I mean
what's the first one that pops in your mind?
There was this like Hell's Angel like night cleaner who worked there, who like really liked our stuff and would try and buy it, but he was like a really nice guy, but he was just crazy. He would like roll up in his Harley and like clean it in the middle of the night while we were like doing like butchery or like sausage making, and he'd like tell us like weird anecdotes about his life or like being an entrepreneur, and it was just like insane. We were just like locked in this like quiet restaurant in the middle of Fernwood with this dude like with a Ghostbuster backpack, like busting out the kitchen. It was bizarre.
I mean, it was also just space wise, like it was awesome because we were wide eyed and young and just stoked to be in a space. But I mean,
I guess had you known everything you know now, you would have been more cautious or looked at it differently. Do you think?
You couldn't really be. We had to be. We were so reckless because
we just had to go in there and do it. But it's just it was hot. It was we used to like use the downstairs of Stage, and I don't know if hardly anybody's been down there.
I didn't know there was a downstairs.
Yeah, if you're a cook, like their kitchen is a little hilarious. It's but it's quite hot downstairs, and so we were always downstairs trying to get sausage to come together.
Inadvertently, you found another sauna.
Yeah. And we were still sauning all the time back then when we had time to sauna.
But the like kicker about all this is like we had the space to use, but no fridge space to store stuff. So we used to finish our production like tiny, just small amounts of production to begin with. But after it was all like done, we would have to like go and store it somewhere. And of course, like we're talking about bus bins, like still big enough not to fit in a regular home size kitchen or anything. So.
And how many days a week were you doing this? Because the market's on Thursdays.
Started probably three or four.
2 or 3. I feel like we were probably trying to shove.
That was the prep for the market every week.
Yeah, every week.
We would finish, I think, Thursday mornings most times.
Oh yeah,
go home, sleep, and then pack up.
Yeah, because we both had Thursdays off. But
Yeah, finish your story. This one's great.
Used to take the like totes of sausage and have to like drive them to the restaurant that I was working at the golf course. My chef there was very kind to us and let us use the coolers that were in the offsite on the golf course there. They had a little shed set up for pop coolers and stuff, and we used to store the stuff there overnight, go back and get it when we needed to finish production. So there was just a lot of like back and forth. Just driving.
Just load
driving at like
this
6
little
in the
Honda
morning.
Civic, yeah, bomb it out to Cordova Bay and like
Yeah, I
just
remember a
hide it in
few
the back
times
of a
just
restaurant.
like rolling up and the maintenance guys are just there, like, and they start quite early, right? They start their day at like 4 a.m. and I would just be driving up like carrying crates of sausage across the parking lot. They'd be asking me what the hell I'm doing. Who are you?
And then you guys evolved from stage, and then you went to another place, right?
Yeah, we just went to their sister actually because it just ended up working out that way. That Livet had a little bit of extra space that we could. We kind of did the shiesty switch there.
Yeah.
And was that the
For
same
sure.
deal after they closed? You'd go in there?
Yeah, exactly. We were in there like every once in a while in the morning, like trying to do a quick thing, but it really wasn't very often.
They didn't have quite the same like late night schedule that stage had, so we were starting our days a little bit earlier there. So
They
it was
had
nicer.
this insanely terrible staircase though. That was my favorite. We had butcher
The one
shops
that you
essentially
go up
like
at the front?
Yeah, so like our butcher shops were like in our car basically. So I'd like my trunk would have like a meat grinder in it, like a 100-pound meat grinder, and then we'd have like like cutting boards sometimes, or knives, or saws, or like whatever. And so we'd like start our shift again at like 11:30 at night, and
So
like
you got a full workout.
The first 30 minutes was just like lugging in like meat equipment.
Hauling that stuff up. We used to bring the smokers upstairs too.
Oh yeah, I forgot about
You guys were lifting smokers up the stairs?
Just little Bradleys, but yeah, we were
that. Yeah.
just insane people.
Yeah, it
And
was
we still are,
so dumb
but-
in hindsight. It's so funny. Like life is so much easier now.
Well, I can
You're like-
imagine when you have all the space right here, you're not lifting stuff upstairs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You just walk in the door and like you have like this almost like this playground, I would imagine, of sorts.
Oh, this is like next level compared to any
And then
memory.
So the only kitchen I saw you guys at was the Prima Strada,
Mhm.
that kitchen there.
So yeah, early into the second or at the end of the first year, I think, basically.
Somewhere around there.
Yeah, we were friends with a local forager, and we had both done some work for Franz de Somme, who's their like executive chef or chef de cuisine, and they had some space to rent in their prep kitchen. So they had a full walk-in, and it was the same deal. They're like, we have guys in there during the day. We like do prep for the pizza restaurant, but like if you want to, you can come in at night and like you can have like full reign. So we worked out a lease with them.
It was nice though because their day was early, 4
Yeah.
p.m. We went from like the 11 p.m. to 4 p.m. At that point, it's
You're slowly moving your sleep schedule
Yeah.
back to a normal sleep schedule.
we felt like kings. Well, kind of.
we were both still working full time.
Yeah,
I remember like sometimes I would crush like an early shift at the Livet and still like come in for a
Totally.
4 p.m. like shift all the time because we were getting busier too, and like our days were starting to like stretch out for the company, but it was still like we were not nearly at a place to like quit working for somebody else, like not even close. So it's funny, you always get that little bit of a pinch unless you're lucky enough to have some huge investment or money falling out of your pocket. But we
started this thing with $1,000
yeah,
each.
we started with nothing.
It was almost like a dumb friend bet. Like, I got $1,000. You got $1,000? Okay. Like, let's
I mean, first thing we went in was $100 each for that like terrible slicer.
still
I
have it.
mean, did you guys do any type of like research before you did any of this? Or you just kind of literally you just said, we got some money, let's just do something?
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like at the beginning, the like month where we like set everything up, it was like that was it. It was like you had a month to get all the like product like going and like get all your VHA stuff ready, like get a name registered, all this stuff, and we had no idea how to do any of it. We knew how to make food.
So as
That was
stuff
the
came
easy
up,
part.
that's when you deal with something as it comes up.
Oh yeah.
So how long did it take to get the name?
Not that long.
I think we did it in 2 weeks, basically. As soon as we settled on a name,
Yeah.
we like fired it in through.
And who came up with the name?
We
Was it a collaboration?
the
And then
name's kind of
our branding guy like kind of helped us out.
Yeah.
Okay. Because I love the logo. Like the thing, it's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
It's a really good job.
Yeah.
Thanks, man. Yeah, we've had it touched and changed a little bit over the years, but it's essentially
Stayed pretty much the same.
it's essentially like our good friend who helped us out there and did it up. His name's Nick. I don't think he does it anymore. I think he's a lawyer now, but
Shout out to Nick.
shout out to Nick
Shout out to
Picard.
Nick.
And when you started this, did you have any expectations at all of what could become or what you were hoping for?
We're crazy competitive, like not only with each other, but like we are also like a little jaded, right? Like every job you leave, you kind of look back at and you're like, oh, like I could have done this better. I could have done that better. And you don't realize how much your bosses at the time or your managers are doing behind the scenes.
I think there was like a lot of like drive for creativity where I don't think a lot of it is kind of weird. I mean, we have a different approach than most butcher shops. Most butcher shops are very focused on meat cutting and just the aspect of that and getting everything like clean and proper, whereas you don't generally have like a full sort of like cooking background attached to it. And I think both of us wanted to sort of get into something that was a little bit more combined of both, since we both had interest in both sides of those two things.
And so what are you guys doing now that sort of takes that cooking background into consideration?
I just think that a lot. I don't know.
Or is it the flavor combinations of the sausages?
Yeah,
or?
I just think it's a lot of just sort of old school like French technique, like prim and properness as well. Sort of going into like a butcher shop, like sometimes butchering is like a little bit, or looked at as a little bit more of a crude technique, whereas like, you know, French cuisine is very refined and sort of like dotting your I's and crossing your T's like exquisitely each time, whereas a lot of time butchering is looked at as like a means to an end. It still has its like intricate moments and whatever, but it doesn't have nearly as much of the sort of nuance I think that is associated with cooking.
I watched a video once of a guy that broke down an entire animal on YouTube, and he did it very, very elegantly, sort of like you're saying. And he very well spoken, and the way he cut all the pieces and sort of laid everything out, and it was all clean. It was really interesting to see how this is all done, because there's the cuts of an animal are like, there's a lot.
Yeah, and one of the things when we started and we got into it is, I mean, we both worked for so many kitchens and so many butcher shops that it was like, we wanted to have like a really clear outline of what we were going to do and what we were going to make. And that was one of the reasons we like really focused on sausage. Is like, we knew we could always like sell pork chops. We could always sell the easy stuff, but like everybody does that. We wanted to be like, how do we make like the best product out of this hog, like overall, with no waste? How come every time like I draw the knife, or every time we like put a seasoning mix together or something, we can like, we have like a real end goal in mind. We wanted to use like everything. So yeah, getting back to that, like I think how we differentiate ourselves is like Hal said, I think we put a really high skill cap on the work we do. We're not just like buying pre-made seasonings and like grinding meat and mixing them together. We toast all our spices to freshen them up and to make them alive. We use a lot of fresh ingredients.
So you guys are doing everything in house?
Everything.
Oh,
yeah. I mean, a ton of fresh ingredients. Like I've never worked in even most kitchens that like have the amount of like fresh herbs or like fresh ginger, or fresh garlic that we bring in. Like there's a lot of
we don't
cooking involved.
We don't even own garlic powder.
Yeah.
we won't even use it.
I know. I saw that tray downstairs, all the garlic sitting there.
Yeah.
No.
That's the way to do it.
Well, it's hard, but it speaks for itself.
Yeah.
And we knew that if we like made a product that we could say is like, this is the Rolls Royce, or this is the you know, the super high end, that we could in the end term charge something. We could buy the best hogs, we could do the best job we could like find the best ingredients we could, and we could make something that we like were really proud of it and that we thought was really special.
Yeah. It's kind of like you were saying too. I mean, the grass is always greener when you're working somewhere, but as well, like Shane said, we're both pretty competitive.
We didn't want to make like the second or the third best sausage in the city.
Also, like out of the gate, like the comparison or like the standard that we were used to was already like, you know, what's considered to be some of the best places in town, and we set out like trying to beat already what was considered the best. So the bar it wasn't like we were sitting there like trying to beat grocery stores or anything. Like we were already in the boutique butcher scene and like trying to outdo that competition. So like the drive was there to like do something.
Yeah,
There was a bit apt.
No malice or anything.
No,
of course, but using it as fuel, right?
Yeah, we're just competitive.
Yeah, and it was like, and even with each other, I mean,
yeah,
like we just, you know, we season really aggressively all the time. Like it'll be funny. Like we'll produce something that 90% of the people will be like, this is great, you could serve this. And I'll be like, oh, a little more salt. Like how far can you push it? Like, I mean,
just everything.
Yeah, like we're like crazy to the nth degree.
I feel like that was me with the first podcast I did, where I was trying to EQ my voice. And I started to, like, almost like if somebody saw what I was doing, they'd think, why are you wasting all this time? And I don't know. It's just something I was doing.
Yeah.
But if you're passionate about it, right?
Yeah. it's never a waste if you're
No,
if you
I
have,
learn
if you have
stuff.
if you have an end goal and like you're getting there, then
So have you found that like with the seasoning and all that over time that it's gotten easier where you can get right closer to that spot where you want to be?
Well, I mean, I've come like a long way in the last few years, like as a cook personally.
I mean,
That's made it easier. And I know you've grown as like a business person and as a cook and as a butcher, like
as business people, we.
And you guys don't work anywhere else now. This is it for you guys, right?
This is it.
Yeah, congratulations. That's awesome.
Thanks, man. Yeah.
Yeah, we did the grind for a long time. I think I worked 2 jobs for a good like 3-year period there, and that was like a 7 days a week for 3 years. And Shane did something similar. And
I think I did 2.5 basically. Yeah,
this is a lot
with
a lot of
intermittent
work.
stages.
So do you guys cook on like your free time a lot? Or
Not-
how are you progressing? Because you're saying you progressed as a cook. I'm wondering how you're doing that now.
I think when you work with somebody who you have a lot of respect for and you work those crazy hours, right? Like, I don't think Kyle ever wants to lose to me or on the other hand, like slight me. And I never want to do the same to him. So you're kind of throwing each other into this like crazy end zone, right? Where you're just like, man, like I gotta try and like blow this guy's socks off all the time. And I know he's a critic, right? Like I know like he's not going to get excited about something that like everybody else is.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Even when we eat stuff that we've already like made over and over again, I'm never like quite happy with it, but that's just like a personal weird thing.
You get jaded the other way, right? Like people eat your food and they're just like, this is really good. And you're just like, it's fine. Like, don't say it's like the emperor wears no clothes, right?
Downplaying it a little bit.
Oh, all the time.
Do you actually vocalize that, or do you keep it inside?
No, I mean, you have to give it back to them. You have to be like, these are the people that like give us a reason to be here and do what we do.
Oh, no, of course.
You have to like be so like thankful. You can't.
But your outwardness, like you're not saying in your head, you're saying the part about it being like it's okay, right?
Yeah.
You're not as excited as the person is necessarily, because you've got this idea in your head.
Well,
But it just
we have this old joke that like if you work in any restaurant or you work in any butcher shop, like you ruin that restaurant for yourself, right? Like you see all the stuff that like in hindsight you're like, oh, what a hack, or like why'd they do it that way? Even in your own work, right? Like you look at like every great artist or singer songwriter.
Well, I think it's like anything.
None of them like none of them like their own work, but they can all look back and say like, oh, like this is where I was and this is why I did that, and like it helped at the time, or I was proud at the time, and then I had to like keep pushing, or I had to go somewhere else.
I mean, it's also just hilarious to look at like what we used to make at the bottom of the stage and like what we make now. It's like leagues above like quality that we used to do.
And do you feel any differently now than you did at that time when you're making the stuff beneath stage? Like, do you feel the exact same way about what you're making?
No.
Do you know what I mean?
Well, it's hard. Some of the standards go up, I think, because we have way better equipment. Like there was more leeway back then when you were like, okay, like we don't have a sausage mixer. We have this like weird dough mixer.
We used to hand mix everything for years.
Hand mix.
We'd fill garbage bags, clean garbage bags full of ice, and lay them on stainless steel tables.
Yeah.
Because the downstairs was so hot, and we try and get the tables like super cold. And then we'd like have the meat in the fridge, sometimes with bags of ice on it, and you'd run it out, dump it on, and dump your seasoning, and sit there and like we just pound it out. We'd be like,
not
exhausted,
like easy
taking
work,
turns. Yeah, it was.
Did you record any of that footage of you guys doing this?
No, I mean we already worked like 8 hours, like we had said.
It's like 4 a.m.
Yeah, you're just trying to bang it out and make something awesome. Yeah, it was
like sweating.
It was fucking awful, to tell you the truth. It was like. There's so many times I just look back and was like, we were so dumb. Like, how did we get here?
I mean, we would do that, and then we would like go and like take it outside and like alley and just like sit there and wait for stuff to smoke. I mean, we slept at stage so many times.
Yeah.
Really?
Oh yeah. Just
Kyle would get like the nice bed for himself. He would like a true chef. He would like make himself. Like you get like a table and a chair.
You're the bed maker with the like chairs like lengthened out. I like remember one time I saw Shane. He was just like, I think I sent it to Clark actually.
That's hilarious.
I just had scoped a picture of him where he had just like sort of his bed had slowly, his 2 chairs of a bed had slowly sort of like separated, and there's like doom was inevitable, but when was it coming that he would slide?
And it happened.
I can't even remember. I was probably so tired I just like fell asleep anyway.
Okay.
You would pass out with your like a school child, like cross arms, head down on the desk, and I would like lay on the floor. Or like lay on a bunch of chairs like a suspension bridge. Yeah. And we would try and crush like 2 hours between like 4 and 6 in the morning. We'd like put sausage in and try and smoke it. And we were both so bad we'd just like go for a nap.
And then you would go back to your full-time, like your regular job.
We'd go home at like 7 in the morning, or we'd go and like drive sausage to our secret like fridge lair. And then we'd go home and like sleep for 3 or 4 hours and then go back to work and do it again.
So this place is the non-secret fridge lair.
No.
This is legit. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's not like only until recently, even when we were at Prima, we had like a lot of space and fridge space, but we did not have like freezer space there to like store. So even then we were doing like a lot of storing like offsite and still lugging like tons of product around just out of like necessity.
That's why we're so handsome.
It's insane to think like the amount of like pounds that we've just like carried.
How many do you think?
Oh, just
like
thousands.
Yeah, like from like a table to your car and then into a freezer or like into a fridge. It's gotta be like 10,000 pounds each. Yeah.
Just I don't want to think about it.
Yeah,
That's a good workout.
It was nuts.
But like looking at the space now that you have here, like this building is crazy town to me. Like it's so like I don't know all the things about all the stuff that you guys do and what goes into what you make. But I can imagine that having all the space here and all the different freezers and all the different things you have, it must sort of be like a playground in a way.
Oh, that's incredible. Like to work in a space that's like the other thing. I mean, every sort of place that we've worked at or whatever, generally the sort of thing that happens, right, is you get an owner or a building owner or somebody who has this idea for a restaurant, right, and they focus so much on retail and what space it's in, like downtown, and they carve out the front of house and make sure everything's tight there, and then they jam this like tiny nightmare kitchen into it however they can, right? Because that's just how it goes, and you shove your staff in there and it's a terrible place to work, and it's like really hard to work in, and it doesn't really make sense because they had to do with what they had to do. And I mean, we just tackled this the exact opposite. Like we drew out the kitchen had to work, like it had to be a flow that worked for lugging around like hundreds and hundreds of pounds of animals. Like we do 90%, I would say at this point, out of whole animal stuff. So I mean, when the carcasses come in, like we had no real desire to sit here and try and like carry stuff around corners and do all this weird sort of stuff that inevitably happens when the kitchen is an afterthought. So yeah, it's amazing working in a space that was actually designed by people who are going to work in it, which I feel like does not happen very often.
So how different did this place look when you first came in here?
It was a hallway, basically.
An empty space, basically.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. So we put a full dish pit in it. The hoods were existing, which is why we took the space. We had to remediate the hoods and bring them up to code. We had to put a full walk-in cooler in. What else did we do?
Was this upstairs here?
We put this insane grease trap in.
Upstairs was here, but it looked much different. It didn't have all this setup behind you and stuff like that. But
because for people that haven't been up here, there's what type of cooler is back there?
It's our dry curing cooler.
Oh, dry curing. Okay.
Yeah.
So there is a cooler up here, and you guys put that room in, right?
Yeah.
That wasn't here. This was just an open space.
Oh, we had to demo this. This was like carpeted, and it was a nightmare. Yeah. Like we tore all the carpets out and like busted a bunch of walls out, and then we had like some carpenter friends of ours come in and frame it and build it. And so we had an HVAC specialist come in, and we told them like the parameters of like what the room needed to do, like the humidity it needed to keep and the temperature and how air needed to move. And we got lucky. We got like a dream team of guys that really put in a lot more time than was warranted.
Yeah, and you now have air conditioning.
Oh man, we're the only kitchen, I think, maybe in like Victoria, Vancouver with air conditioning. It's insane. So
do you feel like this is like the exact space that you would want if you could design anything? This is like as close as you're going to get to that?
No, I mean, because we're never happy with our work, right?
It's hard. I mean, it's just like you always have to do a little bit of concession, right? I mean, we're like on a main like vein into downtown. Like if we were to go and set this up in the middle of Saanich and drive for 30 minutes every day to get out to work, we would just be in some sick warehouse, and it would be open and super cheap and easy, and it wouldn't be as small. Like, not that it's small, but it's we're
I feel like you guys probably have a lot of room for expansion here, right?
Ideally, yeah. We'd like to be here. I mean, we'd like to probably have this space forever, but we'd like to run, I think, the retail here for at least 5 years or something.
Yeah, we'll see what happens.
If not indefinitely. It's hard to
with the
say.
new world.
Yeah.
What's going on outside, but
I can't imagine how much of a challenge that must have been. Like come March, and had you guys signed the lease for this place at that point?
Oh yeah, so they were already deep into construction. Like
our build out took about a year.
Yeah.
Oh really?
Yeah. So we sat on this thing, and I mean, Victoria's like, it's not a kind place to tenants, right? I know it's not a kind place to landlords either. So yeah, I mean, we paid for this. That was like one of the biggest challenges we had. I mean, we weren't.
So you were paying for the space for a year or something.
For a year, yeah.
And on top of that, putting in money into everything going on.
We were paying rent with Prima, and they were great. We were paying rent here to try and build this place. We weren't paying ourselves anything, and we weren't really working.
No, yeah.
We were just
a hard year,
just burning the candle on like all ends, and hoping that it was going to come together in time. And then,
and then COVID hits.
Yeah.
Yep.
So it changes some of the designs for kind of what we had here. We really wanted to, this is like an awesome blue collar community around here. You have like plumbers, engineers, painters.
My mechanic is right here.
Tons of mechanics.
Shout out to EDP. I love them.
Sweet.
EDP is amazing. If
We
anybody
don't know who you are, but we're shouting you out.
shout out to Dale. If anybody
Yeah,
needs
Dale.
automotive
Big
work,
Dale.
my dad used to work there for many years.
Nice.
Go to EDP if you need automotive work. Sorry, go ahead.
Go to ADP.
All good.
Um,
I think what Shane was going after, we did want to tackle like that lunch program, feed a few people, have some sandwiches here and there. But at this point, we're just taking it real slow and just happy that we have a production space. And
Which I did just get to try one of the burgers or sandwiches or whatever, and it was amazing. So like would that have been an example of something you would have done?
So every day on our stories, when we make staff meal, we take a photo of it, and you are the first guy who doesn't work here who got a hashtag staff meal. A Haus
Really?
staff meal.
staff meal.
Did you guys take a photo of that?
Kyle was too proud of it. He had to let it go into the void.
I was gonna say I
It was
just
too
look
good.
over here
I
and
did
let
take
you
one
go
photo.
on with this lie. I don't know where you're going.
Did we get a photo? You took a photo.
No.
I took a photo.
Yeah, you did.
I'll put hashtag staff
Right?
meal.
There you
Yeah.
go. Yeah, you
Send
got to
it to
keep
us.
the
We'll-
tradition.
Yeah, but I want to see how good you guys are on with the social media game.
People like that. People like the hashtag
Oh
staff
man,
meal.
the best thing about social media lately is that along with like pushing the envelope, some of our like friends or competition, like you've seen, like our social media like got really popular because I think of how like organic it was, and it was just us, and Kyle really like leads the charge on that. And then a couple of months ago, we've seen the transition to like some of the other like competing butcher shops in town, stuff like hiring out social media people, and it's been so great. Mostly just because it like relights that fire, right? You're like, oh yeah, like
Oh, now
'cause
it's
we don't-
driving you.
yeah, I mean, we don't have the money to like hire.
Yeah, well,
No,
so
no.
there's way
So
less
we were-
time in the day now.
We were
it
kicking
was-
ass for so long, and then it's like you get to watch them
Yeah.
start to catch up, and we're like, oh shit, like we gotta get better.
I love that.
We gotta turn and burn.
I personally love having a bit of. I work best under pressure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Even though, like, if I had a choice, I think I do. I would rather be under pressure for sure. But there's always this sort of hesitation in my mind, where if I know pressure is coming, I'm like, oh, I'd rather not have that. But I always do better with it.
For sure.
And you just go and do what you do.
Yeah.
And you can almost get out of your own head.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and you're just like, yeah, that's all about that. Like you said, a little bit extra drive, a little extra kick.
100%.
Well, it's
Oh,
just,
yeah.
yeah. I mean, we've become masters, I think, of motivating each other, of like kind of like sparking the fire in the other one, and just being like, hey, like, what do you think of that?
Sounded
Does that bother you? I'm like, oh, I hate that. Like, yeah, you do. Yeah, you do. What are we gonna do about it? What are we gonna do? Well, okay, we'll get these animals. We'll bring those in.
That's
we'll
one of
make,
the good
We'll
things.
make the next level thing, and then we'll see where the dust settles. See what people say.
I mean, it used to be so easy to do that because we used to just be crazy. We used to. I mean, it's hard, like, because we're just a lot more busy than we used to be, obviously. So
Yeah.
we used to. I mean, we would rotate. We'd have like 3 new features like every week, like flavor wise and stuff. Like it's been toned down quite a bit because we just can't keep up with. It's kind of a double edged sword, right? You get a lot of people that want what they want because they had this thing, and we still every once in a while get somebody coming to the market and they'll just be like, I'm looking for this thing, and they like describe it, and you're just like, oh man, we haven't made that for 2 years. Like that's just some random
a
thing that
one-off.
you had once.
So how often are you guys doing features, and like how like you have a staple obviously of products that
Yeah.
are always there that like you've probably dialed in pretty good now.
I mean, even then, that's just, like to our standards. Like even we still run like 2 sausage features probably every sort of rotation. But it used to be just a lot more weekly, a lot more like of an organic mix of sort of just creativity
Yeah.
going into it. But we had to sort of dial it into our strongest flavors. But that was a nice like adjusting time there because Shane just took our recipe book apart a little bit a couple months ago. But I mean, we had like approaching on like 70 probably recipes in there, just like,
Oh, really?
just silly.
And you're going to have somebody that's going to love every single one of those. So probably everyone's come up and saying, "Hey, can you do this one? Can you do that one?"
Yeah.
And we were just scared that we had people that were just in it for the ride, right? And they're like, what are they going to do next weekend?
Oh,
like,
we definitely had some people like that.
We really didn't want to lose those, and so we make that conscious effort to like not only make like this roster of stuff that is good that we're really proud of, but like you have to. Yeah, like I can think of 3 customers every week that just come up and are like, what's new? Like I've eaten everything. Like what do you
That's
guys
what they
got
want.
going? And you're just like, oh
Or
man,
it's still the opposite, right? Like we get the question for Korean so often.
yeah.
It's just like you knock something out of the park, and then like people really want you to bring it back.
And then you got to make the choice if you're going to make that like a staple thing.
Yeah.
Well, especially like that sausage in particular was awesome. It was really good, but it had
what was
it had
in
a
that?
technical flaw. It was just
It's just like a kimchi, basically.
And you guys are doing the kimchi in-house.
Yeah. I
That
mean,
kimchi's nice. It's like, it's not too spicy. It's like, that stuff was amazing.
it's pretty hard, pretty sour. Like
It's really
got a
good,
pretty
yeah.
strong ferment.
Yeah.
it's also a little bit more ginger forward than most kimchis, which I think helps a lot with.
Totally.
I felt that it was very balanced, is the way I would describe
We
it.
get crazy reviews from people that have spent time in Korea, people that are just kimchi fans, people that are from bigger cities, people from like Seattle or Toronto that, you know, are like have a lot more exposure to foreign food or dare I say like more authentic. And while I wouldn't say that our kimchi is very authentic as far as like a Korean kimchi goes, like the processes are. I mean, we're buying vegetables. We make the seasoning sauce from chilies and fish sauce and
See our
the
crocs
puree.
over there.
And
We still use like big old ceramic crocs.
Oh, yeah.
we ferment like old school. We don't bury them, but I mean, we do everything else like by the book.
And what's the flaw you're talking about?
in that sausage particularly, there's like a problem with some of the enzyme that's in the kimchi that's like kind of notorious for fermenting it, and then the texture of that sausage at the end. And no one's ever really reported it or notices it, but it goes back to us just being like, man, it's not
Super
right.
picky. It was just breaking down the casings a little bit too much. We're having a little bit of trouble there with the casings being the fish sauce.
Would that only be an issue if you had it for quite a while?
No, that's what was shocking is we
Or
were
like
finding,
right away?
Yeah, we were finding that it was like it would really weaken the sausage casing. So when you went to go cook it, the sausage could break up. So if you're like putting it in like a fried rice or a dish, it didn't matter. But if you wanted it was an awesome like hoagie, like on a bun. And we never had anybody complain or anything, but we just weren't happy with kind of the snap and the twang and how the dog came out at the end. And so we like took it off, and yeah, we've heard like just outcries for that sauce. We have to fix it, but we're just so busy.
I mean, that's also kind of like goes back to it is funny, but like
I feel like you guys should have some exclusive deal with like an exclusive bun and have like the most insane hot dog in the city.
I mean, we have some
the most
we have
insane
some
hot dog in the
ideas
city.
for,
No, but like something, but
Yeah.
something somebody can really. I mean, you guys aren't serving food here, so are you able to do that if you wanted to?
Yeah, I mean, we do wholesale to basically anybody that wants it, but I mean, it's just hard.
But like, if you were making sandwiches, are you licensed to be able to do that?
oh yeah,
You can do that. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we would have to do a little bit of a touch up probably for the front of house and getting things dialed into like the new regulations just to do take and go food.
Sure.
Whereas like right now we're set up for how it is, and we don't really have to adjust that much. But to do the more hot server like food to go, I think we would have to do a little bit of adjusting downstairs. But
Because what are the different products you guys have right now?
Oh, do you want all 250 of them?
You got 250 different things?
No, but we have a lot. It's absurd.
every market we probably bring a good selection of like 30 to 40 products with us.
Because I would love to touch on the bake stuff.
Sure. Yeah, let's talk about it.
Yeah, those tarts.
For sure.
Those tarts are something special.
You love those tarts.
Yeah.
What do you often say about them?
What, they fuck?
Oh, that's what I wanted to hear.
Yeah, they do.
You heard it
They're
here
good.
first.
They're good.
You heard
it. You heard it here
Yeah,
first,
but
folks.
it's-
Them tarts, they do what you like.
But the bacon in there, it just it's like smoked bacon, right?
So
Yeah.
it gets back to like kind of what we were saying earlier. It was like every knife stroke is supposed to have this purpose, and so we have more equipment. We can make more stuff. We bought an oven. We got this big smoker, and for years we'd bang on people's doors and be like, "Do you want to like run a deep fryer with lard, or do you want to like run?" We have a soap maker who makes soap out of it. It's amazing soap. But everybody was always, nobody will buy lard pastry, or like nobody's going to buy pig soap, and we were like, that doesn't make any sense. Even like back in the day, like you'd grow a hog to like grease your tractor or something. Like you needed fat. All English pastry is based out of pork lard, and so when we finally had a space that was our own, we have a really good friend who was like kind of looking for a gig at the time, and we like kind of worked out a deal where she would come in and bake for us essentially.
And what's her name?
We had all.
Her name's Courtney. She's rad.
Shout out to her.
She's the pastry chef at Courtney Room.
Awesome.
But we had all these ideas to get this program going, but not exactly the. I mean, I did some pastry work when I was in school, but very very limited. And,
So you guys-
and Shane's like more of a bread maker than a pastry person. So we had the ideas and the sort of the concept, but not the skills to get it firing. So we definitely needed to bring somebody in to help us build that program and then get it off the ground a little bit. But
Because right now you guys have the cookies, you have the tarts.
We do like a proper English pie with like a rotating filling every week. So like really good crispy lard pastry.
And what are the size? What's the size on that?
It's hard to say. I don't know if I've ever weighed one actually,
but like the diameter,
probably about 130 grams for
somewhere
a little
like
pie.
right in between like what I would say is like a meal size and like just above like a snack size.
Okay, I don't think I've ever noticed that.
Yeah. They're like the same size as the tarts basically, but a little heftier because they're filled and they have a cap.
But that tart is just the texture to it's amazing.
So yeah, the you had the idea for that basically. It's
yeah, it was gonna be right before COVID hit. We had this another shout out to Brian at the Courtney Room chef there and Chris. Actually find kind of funny. Chris did a stage with us at Whole Beast. That's how we met him. So he worked with us way back in the day. But both those guys over there that are running the Courtney Room are good friends. They've been nothing but helpful to us over the years with different random projects and stuff. And so we had this idea where we wanted to do a dinner or a co-op dinner, and they offered to team up with us and do a little bit of a long table format dinner or like a seated plated dinner there. But that was supposed to be on March 29th. So that did not happen. But we had this menu, and the end part of the menu was like a traditional like Montreal like tarte au sucre, and I just had this idea where I knew I wanted it to be a bacon or like a smoky crust. I didn't really know how it was going to happen or what the sort of process was, but they had made a mock-up of it for that dinner, and we had gone and tasted it, and it was quite good. So
she knocked it out of the park.
Yeah,
that's like
we knew that we wanted that.
It's the best sugar pie around.
As part of the
so ridiculous. I mean, like I'm a cookie monster, so I think my first thing was I went for the cookie, but then I'm like, oh, I'll try the tart too.
Yeah.
But now I'm happy just to get the tart.
Yeah. It's almost too much.
Like
it's a lot.
The best thing that we make.
Yeah.
Or the best like baked good for sure.
Yeah, it's
because what other baked stuff do you have?
Right now we have a fairly static line.
Here's a question: you guys got pizza pops?
Oh yeah.
You know it.
Because since COVID hit, I've eaten an ungodly amount of like pizza pops.
Yeah, we're trying to bring you that ethical pizza pop, dog.
I know. I need to try one of these things.
They're awesome.
Yeah.
Is this like an all the time thing, or was it a feature? Or
we've got a fair amount made. I think we'll run them. We'll run them until people get sick of them.
Yeah, we have them most of the time.
And do you have different flavors, or is it just the one
original?
At the moment, it's just pepperoni bacon. Yeah. And that's kind of the one. But we'll move into like a salami one or something like that.
And how many different cheeses do you have in there?
It's just one.
Okay.
Yeah. We it was funny. The first time I made the filling, it looks so much like pizza pop filling. It's just uncanny.
Yeah, we just kept joking about it. We're just like, this looks so much like a pizza pop.
We actually use curd. Curds is the cheese that's in there.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Where do you get the curds from?
We kind of just go anywhere for that. I mean, we do really like Halt Whistle's curds.
Yeah.
So
Halt Whistle is amazing.
Yeah, when we can do that, we do that avenue. Other than just picking up cheese for our staff meals, we always have a few Halt Whistle things in the fridge, mostly just for our own sandwiches.
Those guys are full on amazing. But yeah, curds, we just look for like French Canadian cheese curds.
Anything kind of standard.
Some squeaky and good.
I used to love the cheese curds at Root Cellar. They started importing them like a year or two ago. And I first discovered them, and then they didn't have them all the time. I haven't been in there recently to see if they're still there, but then they started getting them more regularly. And that was like a staple in my quinoa salad.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
Those cheese curds, when you heat them up and they melt a little bit.
Yeah.
Oh, it was just amazing.
I always microwave my salad too. I'm glad that we can bond over that.
No lettuce.
What?
The salad has no lettuce.
Yeah, I go kale too.
Okay.
Steam it up with that cheese.
Yeah.
I'll do anything.
Just like the property of curd. It's just like we use it in a few sausages too, just because it has that, you can get it really hot and it doesn't like disappear. It has that like melty sort of cheese texture, no matter what you throw at it, whether you're hot, on a charcoal grill, just like destroying it with heat, or if you're like being a little more gentle. It doesn't, like a lot of people do like the cheddar smoky or whatever, but I just personally, I can't stand when you like cut open a sausage and it's just like you get this hole, because there was cheese there obviously, right? But it kind of like melted away.
Well, there's a challenge. Yeah. Make it so it doesn't melt away.
Yeah.
There it is.
How do you guys do that?
That's why we use curd.
We look for curd or other cheeses that like you can abuse.
I think this should be the challenge for you guys. Make it cheese smoky, that cheese stays in there somehow.
We have a couple like pretty rad. Like we have a jalapeno cheddar smoky that we bring back every once in a while. That's like insane.
Most of the time we just shred it.
Okay, let me know when you have that. I'm going to buy some.
Okay.
I want to try that.
Yeah.
Comes every once in a while.
So do you have plans for other baked goods coming up?
I don't think we have anything on the docket immediately.
At the moment, we're just trying to get through summer.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie, we're pretty in over our head every week, just trying to get markets stocked.
How many markets do you guys at?
Just 2 this year. Esquimalt on Thursdays and Saturday on Moss Street.
Yeah. You guys over always by the Mile Zero there.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Shout out to Mile Zero.
These guys are the best. They also just opened up a location.
Exactly.
So come get your sausages and then take a hike down there and get a coffee.
I want to go down there and check them out.
You can double dip. You can get a pepperoni here and you can get a pepperoni there.
Watch out for the secret coffee pepperoni that's coming to them. We just talked about doing a
might
collab
be
today.
A mocha pepperoni.
Oh, yes.
Talked about that today.
Yep.
So it's an exclusive. Do you know a timeline on that maybe?
Give us a few weeks.
Yeah.
Okay. We don't like to shoot ourselves in the foot. We got to make it and realize it's terrible, make fun of each other, go back to the drawing board.
Recipe. We have that's like one of our more like exclusive, or not exclusive, but just like a variety that nobody else does. We do like a mocha chorizo. So like the bones are already there. We just need to adapt it into a stick for them.
And what other partnerships do you guys have? Because you work with a lot of different people.
Yeah.
Yeah, before we get too into it, I guess I should say, like, on the COVID term, like, thanks so much to all of our customers. I mean, we were really scared in March when everything shut down, because we were doing about like 60-40, like a ton of wholesale. And then the markets were like kind of keeping us going through the winter.
Also, yeah, before you move on, like shout out to Kyle too at Moss Street.
Oh my God.
I mean, Katrina's awesome too, but like Esquimalt had a little bit of a buffer. They got those few weeks to sort themselves. Like Kyle and the Moss Street team, like they were in the thick of it. They pivoted.
I love that they're down at that other field now.
Yeah.
That they expanded like that.
Yeah.
Well, and they tried to shut him down.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah,
they full on. Yeah, they full
hard.
on like they tried to shut that down. And Kyle was like, "We I will prove to you that we are safer than a grocery store, and that this is like an essential service, like a really essential service." Because think about like, I mean, you can hear my sob story. I'm like, we work so hard and our sausages fell apart, but there's so many farmers, there's so many vendors at that market that like, that's their bread basket.
Yeah.
And this guy who's essentially like he's like essentially like a volunteer, slash like chairman, like it's his side gig, and he like fought to keep it open. So yeah, good call. Kyle Goulet, he's the man.
Well, I just mean he had no time. Like he was just day to day when we were in like, mid-March there. Cause I mean, we didn't stop. Like we didn't really have any time where we stopped production, even though when it was kind of hairy and we didn't really know what we were producing for, or if we were, just there for no reason. It was just kind of like.
I actually did want to touch on that, like what that feeling must be like as like business owners, or like your new space, and that whole situation hits with COVID and the pandemic, and like how scary that must be. It must, like, what does that feel like?
So we weren't even done this space when it hit. We thought we were like a month out. This place was still like, there were still like walls that needed to be like covered up and plumbing that needed to be like finished. And I mean, we looked at each other like, that's it. Like, it's up in smoke.
Yeah, we definitely went to the lawyer like right away, and we're like, what does bankruptcy look like?
Did you actually feel like now we're going to go bankrupt, or it's game over?
Well, I mean, like I said, like all of our wholesale shut down because all the restaurants were forced to close.
Just overnight.
Yeah. Like
we were doing a ton.
We were making so much sausage for restaurants.
Crazy.
And cured meat and stuff. And
we must have been making more food. 2 dudes, like pound for pound. 2 guys, like we were making the most food in Victoria for sure. Just
I think
like
so.
out of like weight.
We were hellbent. Like it was insane.
We were going through so much volume right before March. Just a lot.
And then, we were really championed by our customers. These people were just like, like we don't want to see this company evaporate. And I mean, there's so many stories in this town of it happening, but like I was really humbled, and I think you were really humbled too.
Oh yeah, the market was crazy.
People picked us up and we're like, no, you're not going to fade away.
And we pivoted into delivery pretty quickly.
Yeah, you did an amazing job of starting that program back up, and
we were like maybe a couple of days behind where we could have been, but it was a pretty quick pivot.
Yeah, how does that feel when you have customers that are so like diehard that like they're like, no, you guys, we're gonna get you through this?
It's insanely humbling.
Oh, it's
great. Like for these people that you prior to having your business, you didn't know them, and now you're making a product that they care about so much. That they like you guys, obviously. So that has made a big enough impact on them that they're willing and wanting to help you on that level. What does that feel like?
Yeah,
we have the best customers.
Yeah, we do.
I mean, it's like the dumbest
Everybody says
cliche, but we really do. Like
I
we
feel
haven't
like-
had a Saturday off in 4
Yeah.
years, and it's like we're never dreading going and doing a
Oh
market.
no, Moss is like my favorite market. I mean, Esquire Malt's good too, but I don't do it all the time. But Moss is like the one that we still do together every Saturday.
It recharges your batteries. Like we go and we get our asses kicked there, and we sell a ton of food to people that like care about the food and where it comes from.
Yeah, we have like a lineup this year, and that's kind of like crazy.
It's cool.
It's
That's
like-
sick, right?
It's like getting inducted into like the OGs.
Oh,
Like for years, we just watched like all these like established businesses like kill it, and people would get in line. And this year, it's been really really humbling.
And we wouldn't have bad years like previous, but like this year's been like
been great.
a little bit different than previous years for sure. And
So has COVID forced you then, I guess, I mean, obviously it shied you away from supplying restaurants.
hmm
Has it put pressure on you and made you do anything you wouldn't have done otherwise? Because I've talked to some people recently and they like, there's things that they would have not have chosen to do, but they did because they had to because of COVID. And it's actually worked out like better than what they were doing previously, but they would have never done it in the first place.
I think first and foremost, it really like made us think about like our reaction with the general public, or not our reaction, but our relation with them and their relation with us, and about like keeping every party safe. I mean, it's something that, especially like I'm like not as detail oriented in that aspect, and like Kyle came with a bunch of ideas that were really awesome on a bunch of different set, and I was like, yeah, like you're right, we have to take this thing like really serious. Like we don't want to be responsible, especially like when none of us, like we're really lucky where we live, but none of us knew how it was going to play out.
I have no idea how in Victoria, like I saw that report on CTV yesterday that we haven't had a case in the South Island in 3.5 weeks. With so many people, it seems like are coming here. At this whole time, Victoria, we've all been living like probably as close to normal as you can get, like anywhere in the world, maybe.
I mean, we were working in masks in basically like early February, and like
well,
people looked at
yeah.
us like we were crazy.
Maybe not
Yeah.
quite that early, but I had ordered masks for us like early, like
Yeah.
so early, in a little bit of a doomsday prepper style fashion. But yeah, I remember the sort of week to week there when it was really touch and go, and the markets were really trying to figure out if they were a thing. And yeah, we had people like coming and making like pretty rude comments to us.
We got made
like,
fun of and stuff.
yeah, because we had
Really?
masks on, and
It had 95s and
yeah, and then like a week later, like everything was shut down, and everybody had some form of reality sort of conked onto their head. But yeah, we had a few weeks there where we had some interesting comments with walk by traffic. But
Yeah, no, well, good for you guys. For me, like I respect that you guys do what you believe in and you just stand with it.
oh, we even used to. Well, I mean, we were like hyper prepared. Probably we used to like work like in full shifts, like with masks. I mean, we still do sometimes, depending on sort of what's going on with
the retail
the
side.
retail and the bubble that we sort of have staff wise.
Good for you guys because I feel like I'm more cautious than a lot of my friends. So good for you guys.
Well, like we've worked so hard to get this business to where it is. Like we would hate to lose it over negligence.
Yeah. Can
Right.
you imagine if like a breakout, something happened from like your business? Like that it'd be awful.
Well, and if you just got like we were just saying like how much we love our customers. Like they're so amazing.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, like, man, if we made one of them sick,
Yeah,
heartbreaking. God forbid, like something happened to them. Like, man,
of course.
It's also a little weird because our setup is, I mean, like we had talked about briefly before at the very beginning about market setup. Our setup is like vastly different than almost any other meat producer, which is kind of funny because I mean, we by no means did we invent it. Plenty of people in the States have this kind of setup where they have ice bins and sort of display things more sort of out to the open. But here, before us at farmers markets, everything meat wise was done in a cooler and kind of like on a signboard. You couldn't see the product, you couldn't touch it. It was all brown bagged, brown
Yeah, just
paper
sort of-
wrapped. Just very like not brand forward, not very appealing to the eye. Whereas obviously you've seen our stand. It's very like akin to growing and being interactive with the product, and you
Well,
get
it's
to
like-
see and.
When you have the baked goods and you have that little plexiglass thing that you have out and you can see it, it looks kind of like a bakery, that little portion.
Mhm.
Just everything with you guys, it seems with the way you have set it up is very intentional. There's a reason why it's all done the way it is.
Mhm. I mean, and that was, yeah. I mean, now that we kind of have this thing where we like make all these sausages that are like very colorful and stuff, like the clear plastic and like being able to actually see the colors is like important to sort of our brand and what we do. So
I mean,
yeah, we didn't want to like dial that back too much because it's like anytime we do beet sausage, like it's like an eye catcher. Like 9 times out of 10, somebody will stop and be like, "Oh, whoa, a purple sausage." It's like,
what's the purple sausage? What's in that one?
it's just like beet puree. I mean, we'll do a variant of like a beet style pork sausage, but every time it like catches somebody's eye and they stop just for that. Maybe they don't pick that one up, but it's part of like
it's something different. It's like on
visually,
Instagram,
visually appealing.
I saw a Machosen Farms, shout out to Fiona, but she posted up a photo of these blue potatoes, like deep, dark blue,
Russian blues.
And it was I haven't seen anything like that.
Yeah.
So it's like it catches your eye, and it's just something different.
Yeah.
And of course, when she in her description she put it's like it's sort of a silky texture or something to that. So even the texture is different.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, you want to be, especially if you're going to go to something like the Moss Street Market and spend your money there. Like, you really need to like be engaged, right? Like, you can go get potatoes anywhere. You can go get sausages anywhere.
Well, the thing
So
about
why are
now
you going to
too,
get out of bed on your Saturday morning and go? Like, you're going to go because you like believe in those people. You think that like they're growing the food or they're making the food and they're doing it like with intention, with reason. They're trying to like catch a hole in the market, B, hopefully create something like really sustainable and special, C, maybe pass some of that story or tradition. That market's incredible. Yeah. I mean, all the farmers markets we've done have been really incredible just by the nature of what they are. But that market is like, it's one of the best things to do in Victoria. If you don't have something to do on your Saturday morning, like get your best friend or your partner or your parents or whatever, and just go down there. Like, you don't have to spend money. Just go for a walk. Like, it's awesome.
There's so many awesome people at that market.
Yeah.
All the vendors, like I know a fair amount there, and they're all amazing people.
Mm-hmm.
And I've gone probably about 4 or 5 weeks this year. Yeah, it's been really great. How has it been at the market not being able to give out samples?
So we never really gave out
Oh, yeah,
samples.
that's right. You guys never really did.
We don't do that.
Yeah. I mean, we just...
Would you have done the baked goods as a sample?
Nope.
I don't think so. No, we really stand by our stuff. I mean, if you don't like it, like we'll give you your money back.
Yeah.
For real. Like, we've always said that. Like, we're not going to sell anything that we're not proud of. We're not going to sell anything it's like we were saying, even with that sausage earlier, like, what's wrong with it? And like, most people wouldn't even know. Most people don't know and they want it back.
But if somebody came to you and was like adamant about something, then you guys would be like, okay.
I think we've done 2 refunds in 5 years, maybe. You know,
And
the classic one's like, my bacon was kind of fatty, and we're just like, oh, it's bacon. Sorry.
Yeah.
I mean, some people like there always is going to be someone who's totally unreasonable, and you just can't win.
Sure.
That's always going to happen at some point. But
yeah, that's the cost of doing business,
yeah,
right?
of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. We've had so
few.
little on the terms of complaints. I would say it's like within one hand, and that's like being honest.
Yeah.
I think maybe like three complaints probably over
Ever.
the last, like,
Every
4
once in a
years.
while, yeah, we get people that are like, I love this sausage, but it's too spicy for me. And we're just like, well, you got to get
Yeah,
tougher.
those don't count.
You got to get tougher.
to me, that doesn't count.
Yeah.
That's just that's a
Yeah, there's a difference between like it's technically wrong and you don't like it. And I'm just
Exactly.
like, I have no tolerance for you don't like it because we made this thing with intention and it's beautiful.
It's hard. Well, yeah, we never. I mean, it's different reasons why we don't do samples now. I mean, back then we didn't have money to do samples. Like I said, we like scraped this thing together with like the money in our shoes.
And we
Like,
could have done
it's
it. We could have done it
little.
a lot cheaper. We could have done what a lot of people do, where you're just like, I sell local pork,
yeah,
and I
that's
just bring pork in from the Fraser Valley, and it's like a massive farm.
That's what I mean. I was just like, yeah. I mean, we always like when we started, we like tackled a product that was hyper expensive to make, like on our end. Like we already put the money in. We didn't have money to sort of give it away. We were already doing the thing. And when we started, we had like I said, we didn't know what we were doing business wise. We definitely spent the first summer like selling things way too cheap, not making any money. So that got adjusted a little bit, but yeah, we just didn't have the option to give it away for free. Especially when we were paying, 2, 3, 4 times more for pork than your average producer.
So where are you sourcing things from? How'd you make those connections?
Yeah.
How did that work?
I mean, that was like a big drive of like how we started. We had all these like little connections to a few different farmers here and there. Jeff, who used to run Pig Restaurant, now is in Cowichan, and
He did something recently, right? Couldn't you order pig?
He's got Pig Mobile going.
Yeah.
I don't know exactly what he's doing. He's not raising
coming
hogs
back.
this year.
There was something during COVID though that like you could order some of the pig stuff again.
Yeah, it's coming back.
So
But-
he went out there to start a farm with his wife.
1740.
And yeah, they were awesome. They would buy basically like Berkshire Cross piglets and raise them on their property they bought out there. And like Jeff's a shrewd guy. He's smart. He's not going to like work his ass off and like not make any money. And like he was just like, this is what I need for my pigs. And I think the first time he raised pigs, we bought half the lot, and Brass the Cole took one and Olo took one.
Yeah.
And we were like, okay, like this is the company we're going to keep then. Like if this is the standard, right?
Yeah.
We have like two of the best restaurants in Victoria, and they're willing to like buy these very expensive pigs and put them on their menu and charge what they need to charge for them to make money. I was like, we can be, that's good company to be in.
Also, Jeff was doing us a solid back then. I remember the first pig that we bought. We used to go on site and butcher them. We used to butcher them at his farm because we didn't have a backpacker. We didn't have vac bags. We had nothing.
Yeah, he had this hilarious shed.
So we used to go there like early and cold. Oh, shit. Fucking cold. Just so cold.
Not just cold, but it's fucking cold.
It was like December. I remember us. We were up there,
get up there
so
at 5
early.
in the morning.
Yeah, so early.
And we get to his property, and he pulls up in the back of like a bit like a Honda Odyssey or a Dodge Caravan or something. And he'd gone to the abattoir that morning and couching to pick his hogs up. And he like pulls back into a shed, and he had like a little meat cutting room in there. Real rudimentary, a couple stainless steel tables from when the restaurant came apart, and a vac packer and a sink, and place to do your dishes and a little fridge. And I think the first time we spent like a full day, basically like 10 hours cutting up like 4 hogs in his shed. And he came in at the end of the day, and he was just like, wow, guys, like great job. He's like, I don't know if you're going to make any money doing this though.
Yeah, he was just like, you guys are slow.
Yeah.
I was like, that's fair.
Yeah.
But that was also, we were a little rusty at that point. We hadn't cut pigs up in a while. But yeah, I was like, kind of funny how that goes full circle. Yeah, lots of people are about farm to table, but I don't know how many people can say that they used to go to the farm and cut the animals up from the farm on site, other than people that own the farms. But yeah, we were pretty dialed into where the pigs were coming from and to really tackle an aggressively high quality.
So how many different farms are you working with then?
I would say right now on like really small scale, we probably have 5 or 6.
Yeah, somewhere around there. A lot of people are, like Shane said, a little in limbo, especially if they're a small producer right now. There's a lot of problems going on with like the abattoirs and stuff, and COVID just really kind of putting the wrench in a lot of the systems. So a lot of our smaller farmers kind of took a step down from raising as many pigs, if not a total step down, just until the abattoirs get sorted and life gets a little bit more regular again.
We've got a pig coming from Comox Valley this month to try those guys out. I think the farm's called Lentulus. Is that right? Is that
no?
No.
We have some. That's so funny. Like some of the places that we deal with are so small that they don't even have names. Like Heather Caroline.
Thank you.
Like I can tell you the name of
Caroline
the farmer, but not the farm name, just because it's just different interactions that
So
we've had.
how does it work if you like? Does the farm approach you? Are you out looking for the farm, or how does it
Usually
work?
it's the opposite. Every once in a while somebody calls us and says like, we have some hogs, and then we're initially like very suspicious. It's like
That's I want to know, like, how do you guys choose? Okay, we're going to take a chance and buy one of these animals.
the other thing is like a lot of people get into it with like the best of intentions. They're just like, I want to raise a heritage bred pig, and I want to sell it to a restaurant that cares or to a butcher shop that cares. But these pigs carry like a lot of fat, and they're way harder to raise. They're way smarter. They really tear land up. They escape all the time. And so they read about kind of like at a medium sized level what it costs to like bring a little piglet in and raise it to slaughter weight, and then how much money they should expect from it. And then they do it the first time, and they're way over budget, and nobody will touch it. And so we have to come in and try and at least give them their money back, if not like put some money in their pocket so that they can do it again in the next round and like dial it in a little bit more. But we get the sad story all the time of people who like raise 3 or 4 pigs, and then these pigs end up being like 400 pounds or something, and they're like all fat because
way past when they should have like sold them. But yeah, that's just kind of like what Shane said. A lot of people, it takes just because of the breed that we like. Shane keeps referencing heritage breed, so we look for that like old school, like old European stock or Spanish stock, or Old English.
What's different about that?
So it's kind of like what Shane touched on, instincts. A lot of breeding instincts and animal instincts are left intact with those breeds, whereas what they call like a Yorkshire or a land race, what most people sort of know and think about when they see a pig, it's like that, that classic white, pink looking pig, really lazy, really inbred at this point, unfortunately, and just very docile, like doesn't have a lot of instincts, really likes to lay around.
Just lays down. And, yeah.
And of course, like when we started, we it's kind of a cross section now. Like it is like just blended into it, but we never really, the ethical part of it always just came from looking for the highest quality. And it just goes hand in hand, like the sort of the ethical raising and having an animal that can have a free roaming sort of approach just tastes better.
Is it if somebody owns like a heritage or is going to raise a heritage pig? Is it generally then if someone's going to be doing that, they know what they're doing and they want to do it properly? Is that kind of what you'd find?
I mean, we wish that was the case, but
not necessarily.
I mean,
there's not a lot of information about it.
Yeah.
Okay.
If you, I mean,
does the meat taste different?
Totally.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. That's.
I mean, so if you've ever heard of what is it in Japanese, korbuto, the pork that Japan is famous for,
the Kurobota pigs.
That's a Berkshire pork, and it's what most heritage breed crosses are based off of.
Okay.
Here at least, but it's like a really famous delicacy over there.
So would you say that one of those pigs raised ethically and properly, and then you take one of the other pigs that's more like what I would consider to see when I see a pig, right? Mm-hmm. Both of them are raised the same way. Does the heritage one still taste different?
Oh, way better.
Okay.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, obviously, like the surroundings are important, but like taking any athlete or like genetics are like a huge part of it. Okay. Right. Like just what you can play the game with, period. And so you have these like older, wilder animals. Better is maybe the wrong word. They're different. They're just way different. And when we say better, like we think they're better, but we've eaten so many pigs from all over the world, from all different casts and breeds. There's nothing wrong with somebody being like, I love the taste of like a Yorkshire Landrace cross or a little pink pig. Like they're good. They taste good, but they're not meaty. They're not rich. The fat isn't unctuous and succulent.
Do you have any pig that stands out in your mind as like the best you ever had? Anything jump out?
It goes like,
I have favorites for sure. Like the Iberian pigs from Spain are like close to my heart. Like I got a tattoo when I was in Spain of them, and like the story's amazing, and the jamon is amazing. They're a really old breed of pig that grow from like the San Sebastian area in Basque Country, and they're known as like the fattest pigs in the world. And they've been making jamon, which is like their prosciutto, for like a long time. But the really high quality ones are always raised on oak orchards, so they like kill them right after like the acorns drop in the fall. Yeah. So they're fed like acorns. And so there's like a lot of argument between scientists and ham lovers and farmers about like, is it the breed or is it the acorns? Is the amino profile on their feed what makes them special? But the meat is red like beef. Really? We've been really lucky. We've dealt with some pigs that are descendants of those. We've dealt with a lot of Ossabaw, which not a lot of farms are willing to do. And that's a descendant of that pig that was left in America, like kind of in the Creole states on Ossabaw Island. And it's cool. Like you can feed it to people and they think it's beef. Like it's like red.
It's red.
It's red, and the fat is like hard. And
that's wild.
It's cool. It's amazing. But you get this pig and you look at it and you're like, oh, there's not a lot of meat. There's a little submarine of fat. And then you carve it all off, and the fat's amazing. You got to find something to do with it. But the meat itself is like so special.
And so, do you guys do dry aging? You do, right?
Well, here and there a little bit. I mean, we
is that something you would maybe expand in the future?
Yeah, it's definitely a program we look to build, especially like Kyle said, like we're so over our heads right now. Yeah. So it's like we know how to do it. We know what we need to do it. But building that program is just going to take some time and kind of figuring out the end goal of it, right? Like we're not going to be everybody and just be like, we're going to buy cheap beef and dry age it for 20 days. Like, you know, some high-end grocery store would do and sell it for a bunch of money. We're going to find like some crazy beef, some crazy ducks, some crazy poultry or whatever, and do it proper.
Yeah, it was like at Hank's, that Wagyu that I had one of their the Wagyu burgers. Cool. But they dry aged it for, I think it was 3 months or something. And it was insane.
Awesome.
Mm-hmm. But like the beef to start with was,
you start with something insane, and then you like try and do right by it, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Do your best not to fuck it up.
Yeah. You give it the right treatment.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah, we have a little bit of an extra space for that program to grow, but I've been going back and forth. I'm like trying to do a deep dive into fish curing right now to see if we can start that program and see which one would take off more, the dry aged beef or the seacouterie.
Seacouterie. You guys don't have any seafood right now, right?
Not at the moment.
No. Yeah. We have interest in it for sure, but yeah, like Kyle said, I mean it's another world. You know, big minds and small hands. It takes time for us, and the standards are high.
Some reading, but it's in the wee hours of the night after we've worked. It's the same kind of thing.
Of course. I mean, I'm sure I'm I'm sure there's a huge rabbit hole you can go down with any of this stuff.
Totally.
Yeah.
Like any single thing. Like even what you're just talking about here with heritage pigs.
Well, I mean, I think the reason I fell in love with it, at least, is it was a way to like learn about the world and like tell stories and talk about food. Like, again, like I was not a good student, but I was like a curious mind. And so like all of these things, we talk to people all the time and we find that we know like snippets of history or snippets of geography based on like sausages we tried to make or we tried to learn about.
Yeah, it's so weird when you look at prosciutto. I mean, prosciutto comes from like pre-Roman times. It's so old. It's
And
just
there's
like one of the oldest
so
like
many
things.
varieties.
And like that is like the nice thing. It's like what we do is like rooted in some of the oldest like cooking techniques in the world, right? And we just actually like get to approach it with like a new age of like profile for flavors, right? Because it is kind of like what Shane said, like the Iberian pigs right there. They're kind of like wine or cheese, right? They're very regulated, and like when you get that style of pig over there, like they're all bred on the same land, and they have to be. They're tagged and up to that sort of standard. But with us, we get to kind of take like creativity is at the forefront, right? We have these like techniques that are rooted in something that's very old and very old school. But as far as flavor profiles, like we do some things that just nobody else really does.
And when you get an idea for like a sausage, how long does it typically work out? Like pretty soon in when you're trying to create whatever you thought of, or do you have challenges related to that?
I think we have a pretty good methodology now. I think
at this point we're so good.
Yeah.
It's kind of scary.
Yeah, I mean, we'll kind of shoot like a recipe on paper back and forth a little bit, and then we'll mix it. We'll get like the fat and the meat where we want it to be, season it, and then before we like come into it, we'll cook some up and eat it, and then we'll adjust it and cook some up and eat it, and then when we're just like, okay, this is pretty sure we want it, and then we'll cook it, and then we'll get good reviews or something, and then we'll hate it, so we'll go back and we'll fix it again. But it's
You'll
like,
get good reviews and then you'll hate it?
yeah, all the time. We're just like that was wrong.
I don't think it's supposed to work like that.
Yeah,
It's
I just
not.
get sick of it. Or like, yeah, it's just like Shane said, we're just like never
jaded.
satisfied.
Yeah.
I'm not jaded. I'm just never satisfied.
That's fair.
I understand
It's
that.
definitely not jaded.
I understand
Jaded
it.
has such a
You're right.
negative connotation.
No, that's a
yeah,
great point.
It's not jade. It's like everybody is
It's like
always
it's like
so,
relentless.
so into just like running the standard and like
Well, I think you
just want
guys-
to do something exceptional
You
like
guys
every time.
know the work that went into it. And you probably have, like with this podcast so far, there's been some episodes where some things were not exactly how I would have wanted. And I know that if I'd spent more time, I probably could have got it a little bit better. But is that huge increase in time worth that little marginal increase in quality? I just don't have the time to do it right now.
Sometimes it is, and sometimes it's not. And that's, I think,
if I had the time, I would do it. But
yeah, one, that's the big difference, I think, between being like a really good business person and being like a great craftsman or a great artist is like trying to find that finite line between like, when does it matter? Like, when is it okay to stop?
yeah,
Right.
For sure.
Are you,
Which-
and are you just like ruining something that is then good? Like, have you taken something that people love? I mean, I think that was one of the first things we had to learn is like, yeah, like we are like really relentless about making something, but it's okay to, when you make something that like people really like and are happy to buy over and over again, to be like, okay, like, you know what, like maybe like, not that I'm wrong, but it doesn't need to be improved anymore. It doesn't need to be like hammered and fixed. Like the recipe's there. We can make it this way every time. People like it. At the end of the day, like I have to like check my own ego and like take a step
let
back.
go sometimes.
Totally.
It's like
I
the
love
Copa.
that. Yeah, checking the ego is very important.
Yeah.
And I've tried to really be doing that in the past couple of years, especially. I've had to really start to dial it back and just keep that in control because it's tough. It's tough. Like you don't want to get too stoked when you do something really well, but you don't want to get too down if something doesn't go right.
Yeah, I mean, you can't beat yourself up over every mistake because you're gonna make so many.
It's
right?
just I think that like what I find, because I'm so busy that I just don't have time to think about anything. If something goes wrong, I have no time. It like, okay, that happened, cool, I'll learn from it, but I'm not going to sit and think, oh, I wish something was different. We just move on and do better next time. I mean, there's no time for that.
I mean, that's definitely the great thing about having like a business partner. Like I know when you started, you had a great business partner.
Shout out to Mike.
Yeah.
I think I've shouted him out in quite a few of these episodes.
Yeah. I think we're really lucky that we were good friends first. And then, I mean, we have a good friendship and we have like an excellent like business relationship. You know, we don't really pull punches. We fight all the time, but we don't like, we come to work every day knowing that like the goal is there. Right.
Yeah. I mean, it's never always going to be rainbows. Like 100% of the time, it's not going to be.
It rarely is.
There's probably times where you guys could probably get pretty angry at each other, I'd imagine.
For sure.
Yeah, for
absolutely.
sure. I
And
mean,
Mike and I had those times, and
Yeah.
you just, that's fine because it's like the passion thing, right? You
Yeah.
both have strong, or at least we had strong thoughts about things, but then we'd always come back together and we just keep moving forward. And every time I felt like we got a little bit closer together as friends, and we were able to do better in the future and just be stronger, you know?
Well, I think part of what makes us work is like we're really different. Like as people, we're
That
really,
was the
really
same with
different.
Mike and I.
Yeah.
If Mike was doing this podcast with me, he'd be going. One time we were at this, I think we were at Culinaire or something, and somebody came up to me and Mike was there and they said, "Is he drunk?" And he wasn't. I'm like, "No, that's just Mike."
That's every day in Kyle's life. Every day.
Like,
It's like, is that guy allowed to sell sausages right now? Kyle's like, it's okay.
I'm the
him.
introverted guy, and Mike was the outgoing guy. And we like when we did all our radio segments with Joe, we had a really good dynamic. And some on our YouTube channel, actually, there's some old videos. There's like 10 of them, of videos that I shot when Mike and I went to some restaurants. And like our personalities are very different, but we got along so well. So yeah, I miss Mike. I wish he was here with me sometimes, because like if he was with me, there'd be some like crazy stuff in some of these podcasts. But you get I'm more laid back, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're right. You always get that like the dynamic duo.
But to keep someone in check and check them when that needs to happen, that's really important. And that's something I really appreciated, is that I'd start worrying about something and Mike would be like, what are you doing? Like drop it. Let's keep going.
I have a bunch of my own horse blinders, like that I can say confidently. And Kyle will give me things and show me why they're important. And I know over the years, we've had that effect on each other, right? Where like, sometimes you go on with your head and you're like, this is so important, it's crazy. And that person's like, dude, shake your head. Like, it doesn't matter. Yeah. Like, we'll move forward. Or the other thing, like how did you not see that? Like, this is really important. And you dismissed it. Like, let's go back at the drawing board and take this into consideration. And it's like, it's insanely important to have somebody who's not going to like coddle you.
Imagine that
when you're right or when you're wrong, right? Like, who's going to like,
how many ideas that someone in a partnership like you guys, and one of you says to the other one, "Hey, do you realize something you just said or something?" Imagine if that other person wasn't there and that idea just gone and it never got picked up on, even though it was floated out there. I wonder what ideas have been caught or missed in different ventures just because there wasn't another person or there was another person.
All right. Just think, how many times, you have to take the knee in like different aspects of every relationship, whether it's, personal or business or anything. Like, you're going to win some, you're going to lose some. And, sometimes you might be right and you need to let that other person have their thing, or you might be wrong and you need to like acknowledge that you were wrong and
100%
move forward.
That's important.
Because for like the longevity of it, like, it's a game. Like, I know, like, over these 4 years, we both made a ton of compromises that we didn't think we would make. But I think this company is at a place that neither of us thought it could be at either. And we're both like really proud of it. And I think the end goal is something like we've made something together that like we're both really proud of.
Well, that was like a little bit of a unique approach too. I mean, most people sit down and they, have this idea and they plan it, and then they go to the bank and they get a bunch of money, and then 3 years goes down the line and they've sunk all this time and effort and money, especially into this thing. And then they realize that their partner is not exactly like, they've had 3 years and it's like getting to be a little bit much. And I mean, before we even jumped in to this project, like the building and the build out of the kitchen, it was nice. I mean, we had the time to sort of sit down and see if it was going to work long term. I mean, nobody knows the future, but I mean, there's not a whole lot. I mean, we spent countless hours together, like in like the bottom of kitchens, just like, doing hard work. And like, that's like something that you can't really put a price on when you're looking at like a partnership before you dive into something deeply.
I mean, now you guys can look back on those times too and be like, do you remember when we did that?
Oh yeah.
Like when you're sleeping on chairs and like,
so good.
Yeah,
you're going to fall on the ground because the chairs are separating. And like, this is like
crazy shout out to Stephen Quigley, who like on our worst days would make sure there was like a beer at the bar for us when we showed up. Yeah. He knew. He was the bartender at stage at the time. He's the owner of Chorizo & Company, a great restaurant in Victoria.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he's the best. If you know, Stephen Quigley's the man. But
I need to go back to Chorizo.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know Tomas and I think Johnny was the other guy's name originally.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they started it.
Yeah, and then it sold to him.
So it's Stephen and this is so embarrassing. Dave Brooks, thank you, is his business partner, and they're phenomenal front of house. They're phenomenal businessmen. They're killer entertainers. Yeah, spend your time and your money there. They'll make sure you're
I should
looked after.
talk to them.
Can't do it anymore, but when we're back to normal, go get one of Stephen's famous high fives.
Oh yeah,
What does that look like?
It looks like you're gonna go with a broken arm.
It's just his standard greeting.
I'll give you a big woo, Ric Flair after.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Big
Shout
old
out to
high
Ric
five.
Flair. Shout out to the Four Horsemen.
Yeah, may the legends never die.
So yeah.
So what partnerships do you have with places? Different places you're working with right now.
So we deal with Chorizo and Company.
Yeah.
They're some of the first. If we have to shout out anyone on this podcast at all, I think it should probably also be Torn Egan, who was the first guy to ever take a chance on us. Torn Egan was, I think, is probably one of Victoria's greatest secret cooks ever. He was the head chef of Northern Quarter. I do know what he's doing.
Is there something coming up?
Well, I think he's really enjoying his life right now.
Okay.
Because I think he had this project and it was awesome for a long time, but it required a massive sacrifice.
Always there.
That was my favorite brunch in the city. Was that Northern Quarter?
Yeah. So he's at Foo right now.
Really?
And it's awesome. Not that Foo ever wasn't awesome, but it is so awesome right now.
So has he brought new stuff that they've changed?
No, he's just really good at cooking.
Oh, like it's amazing.
It's like we were talking about earlier. Like there's one thing to be able to make good food, and there's one thing that's professional line cooking, and they're not the same. They're not the same thing. And Torn Egan is one of those rare, beautiful creatures who is a phenomenal cook and a phenomenal line cook. And you put him in any restaurant, and he's like driven and passionate.
He's so quiet though. Like he never really ever seems like he wants to be out in front of anything.
Talk about checking your ego. That dude doesn't have to brag. He knows. Oh no. Like
I would go back in the every time I went to Northern Quarter, I'd go thank him for the amazing food that he's making. Just like, I'd pay for it and go thank him. And he was always, very humble. But like the stuff he does is insane. It was my favorite brunch in the city.
Cool. Yeah. So he's at Foo right now. And the reason I wanted to shout him out is he was the first guy that picked us up. Like in our first year, we didn't have any wholesale. We were like kind of beating around the bush. Our stuff was and still is like really expensive by comparison to our competition. And he was like, hey, you look like you're doing what you say you're doing. And your stuff's awesome. Like, let's bring it in. And so Northern Quarter started carrying our breakfast sausage for their brunch years ago.
And they never even faltered. They just kept going.
Yeah.
They did not even dip once.
He actually made rabbit corn dogs for me for once.
Dope.
He got a couple of rabbits in, and I was there to do an interview for our CPAC segment. Mm-hmm. And he made rabbit corn dogs that day.
He's such a gangster.
It was so good. And then the last time I was there, I think was like a month before they closed. And he made blood pudding.
Cool.
And that was really, really good.
That might have been
I
ours.
was going to say that was probably ours.
Yeah, probably he would buy that from us like every once in a while. He would do some awesome dishes with it.
Yeah.
Do you remember when he told us about the blood log that he baked? That was my favorite dish.
What's that?
He just told us that he roasted it just like a roast and just
Yeah. So traditionally, most people would take this giant log of black pudding, and you would cut it into little medallions, and sometimes give it a quick breading and a fry, and it's just unctuous and super rich. And it's an amazing UK dish.
It's dense. You only want to eat about 3 ounces of it.
Yeah, but Torn was just he would just make a roast. He would just put a pound of blood sausage in the oven with some butter and just get that thing crispy, and it would just be he'd just be sweating and hot and beautiful. And then you just put that on a plate for you, there you go. And you're just what? It had garnish and it was a real composed dish, but you were just you were so brave, sir.
A large quantity.
Yeah. Sorry. So to bring it all the way back, we're working with, who are we working with
Not
right now?
Not nearly as many
Not
people.
As many.
Our just to be frank, our wholesale kind of died since COVID.
And I guess you guys are so busy now, you can't really go try and reach out and be hey, are we restarting this or what's going on?
We have a few. So now that I've had a second, Seasider's been amazing throughout this. Seasider's incredible. Il Sauvage Brewing Co. Has been with us the whole way. They're really amazing guys making really amazing beer in Rock Bay.
Yeah, all of the sort of the more beer focused or tasting room focused places.
Yeah, Bows and Arrows has been taking stuff from us. Mile Zero Coffee is taking stuff from us right now. Bilston Farms has been awesome. So they were essentially a wedding venue that kind of had this cool. You could go out there and have some food, and they built this amazing pizza program.
Really?
Chef Bob.
Chef Bob at Swan's Brewery. Oh my God! That guy is incredible.
That guy's been really nice to us too.
I can't toot his horn enough.
Yeah.
Go have a Scotch egg. Happy hour 3 to 6. Swan's Brewery. $6 Scotch egg. It is insane.
They got a mean Scotch egg.
Yeah. And so he buys like sausage meat from us that we like mix and season. And he does like a perfectly soft Scotch egg with
really
it.
good.
It's really fucking
The last
good.
one I had
Probably the
was
best
at,
one in the city, probably.
yeah, the last one I had was at House of Botang.
Oh, yeah.
Dope.
He does a good one there.
Yeah, I've
Yeah.
heard good stuff about that one, too.
Speaking of underrated chefs, not really.
No,
I mean,
I was
that
gonna
guy's,
say,
that guy's won a lot of
Chef of the Year
accolades.
last
Yeah.
year.
He's such a nice guy.
But he's been kicking ass for so long.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
He's been doing it for a while.
And I mean, like ballsy too. Like I was like, I'm going to open a real restaurant in Langford that's not a chain, and he did it.
Yeah.
And it's still there, and it still kicks ass. And they're doing dinner now.
That'll be more of a trend as time goes on.
Yeah.
Every time I've been there, I've been blown away.
Yeah.
Oh, he's as legit as it gets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So for other partnerships, there's nothing else right now, really.
You know, there's always a few.
Sonora's on the old horizon, perhaps. That's
Yeah.
like the sort of egg that's in the nest at the moment.
Do you ever do any partnerships with like people at the markets?
Yeah, we do a little bit of trade every once in a while, but mostly we just buy stuff when we make cool product. Oh, I should say the Market Garden has been with us for a long time in Esquimalt. They're like a really amazing grocery store that carries specialty ingredients and food. They're phenomenal. And
they've been carrying your stuff for a long time?
Yeah, a couple of years now, 2 years. They take, I mean, I'll be real. They take about 30 pounds of sausage a week. So that says like a huge thing about like the community of Esquimalt, because we do the Esquimalt market every week and they still burn 30 pounds of sausage a week all year.
Do you remember when we first did the Esquimalt market and we had like 40 pounds total? And then we were so stoked that we sold
we were like, dude, yes, we made $250 today.
Now, what's a big week for us now? What, like 300 pounds?
We're routinely making.
I mean, that's just pork.
Yeah, I was gonna say we're routinely processing about like 250 kilos a week. I would say.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So volume wise, is quite a different game.
Yeah.
Yeah. Think about going back to when you were just doing the pickles and you're just starting.
Yeah.
And the kimchi. Now you're
We
doing
really
that.
just did that because you and I like didn't really like your like upstairs neighbors, and we just wanted to skunk them out. We just like made like 50 liters of kimchi.
Thing that we could get going.
We just made like 50 liters of kimchi under their bedroom.
Not even totally
and left
true.
it there.
I mean, that's part true, but
they were the worst.
Yeah, they were the worst.
They were the worst.
Shout out to terrible upstairs neighbors.
Yeah.
Shout out to the smell of kimchi.
Yeah. Yeah. If you want to.
Your neighbors didn't even know it was their favorite thing ever because they were smelling it all day.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. We kind of just got that going because that was all we could do in the meantime.
For sure.
We were just like trying to get something.
There was just like other silver lining there that was great.
Yeah.
Yeah, we just really got to relish in like turning your house into like a mustard factory.
The kimchi icing on the cake.
Do you guys ever do special requests if somebody wants something?
All the time.
Yeah, for sure.
All the time.
Have you had anything like really crazy that somebody's wanted?
Not really. To be honest, like it's funny because like we already are on the crazy side of probably the most crazy side of like recipes. Where most people that want a custom order, they want something that it's like a family recipe that they've had for years. Like especially if it's somebody that's, wants something from a foreign place, or their family, is like old Swiss or old European or even Filipino and stuff like that. Some Southeast Asian recipes every once in a while. It's mostly people looking for what they used to have in their hometown, that kind of thing.
It is usually more boring. It's true. There's like rarely people that are like, I want 10 pounds of sriracha blue cheese for myself. I mean, those people exist, but like they just come and get it. For custom stuff, it's like people who want like boerewurst or.
Because you guys do a sriracha blue cheese, right?
Yeah, we're known for that one.
What's that one? What's the experience when you have that?
You're drunk eating chicken wings with your shirt off. That's how that sausage was invented, and that's where it takes us every time.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. That was something that we. That's pretty much the only recipe that's lasted.
I think that one
from the beginning.
Bratwurst?
Yeah, brat's been there, and hot Italian.
Have you guys ever done like a butter chicken?
Yep. Yeah. It's on our lineup. We don't call it butter. We call it currywurst.
Okay.
It's got some notes. It's got some like tips of the hat too, like a German currywurst, and a lot of tips of the hat to like curry you would find in England, like kind of the English adaptation of a Madras curry.
That one's really good. My favorite, actually, somebody just had a comment a couple weeks ago that was they had that sausage, and I think that's particularly one of our finer tuned recipes. That one I'm like very happy with all the time. Never have any doubts. They said something, they were like, you don't even need sauce for this. And that's like something that I like, for me personally, I'm just like, that is like a goal. Yeah. It's just like, I feel like as North American cuisine or whatever, as grocery sort of style produce goes, we are we are very addicted to the sauce. Like
100%.
everything has to have a sauce. And I'm
Totally.
not of that belief. I'm just like, why can't we just make stuff that doesn't need like a condiment?
That tastes good.
I forget what sausage I bought when I was in here checking out the shop last week or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't have any. Duck andouille.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't have any sauce with that when I had it, and it was fantastic.
Yeah.
But
No,
that's
again,
just kind of like the goal, or like that, like we were talking about. It's just like I think the cooking background really kind of pushes that envelope. Whereas, you know, if you're just a butcher background like you have the nicely seasoned sausage, and it goes with a nice side, and it goes with, you know, a nice piece of bread. Whereas really try and put something on your plate that's like, this is like an intense flavor. Like, it's not boring. It's something I've never had. It's like a crazy color. Like, all those things just like kind of come together, and it's not supposed to be what you can get other places. And it never sort of will be that goal.
Yeah, we're not pretentious. Like, if you want to buy our stuff and put ketchup on it, like, go for
yeah.
it. Yeah, we
Ketchup's
love that.
awesome.
Yeah, we love that stuff.
But you
like,
don't have to.
You're not going to be like, oh my God, my sausage is cooked. I don't have ketchup. I need to go to the
ketchup.
store, right? You're just gonna be
100%.
like, so make this sausage is awesome. It's fine.
It's so weird. I crave like this, like even Heinz ketchup,
yeah.
like the organic one though. I don't like the regular.
Oh, I'm the opposite.
One?
Yeah, I want the dirtiest,
Oh no, I want the organic one.
like that one, like you get in like the Costco can from Heinz.
Oh yeah, I haven't done
Like
that.
the plunger.
I get the organic one at Costco. I think it has like
Well,
real
la-di-da.
sugar or something. Yeah. It's interesting how some stuff like that is, but then if you look at like chocolate milk, like Avalon chocolate milk, I love, but I like the regular one. I don't like the organic for some reason. It doesn't
I
taste
didn't
as
even
good
know
to me.
Avalon did a difference. That's interesting.
Yeah, they got two different ones. So it's interesting how certain things will go back and forth.
I bet you it's because organic chocolate is so expensive. And they were just like, we had to get the cheapest, worst organic chocolate to make this organic chocolate milk.
Their chocolate milk is so good though.
Yeah. I've heard quite a few people rant and rave about that.
Hashtag dirty bulk.
Dirty bulk for
Hashtag
sure.
dirty bulk.
I've been doing that for a while now.
Deadlifts and chocolate milk.
What about catering? You guys do catering, right?
Well,
Sure,
I mean,
we can.
it's just kind of funny. I mean, it just like goes back to, we just don't turn down a challenge. Like, we don't have any like real experience or the equipment to ever like tackle catering situations, but somebody comes up and is like, I want you to cook this thing for us. We just make it happen. Because the skill set's there, and it's less so now that we're so busy in here, and we're like doing a lot more like managing of sort of different aspects rather than just like having to manage ourselves. But yeah, it was just always like another little challenge, another little fire to stoke, you know, that kind of thing, side project.
And what's the deal with the weekly newsletter?
Yeah.
It's bi-weekly, tell us.
Yeah.
Oh, bi-weekly
Great
newsletter.
notes.
Maybe once per month.
Or maybe every 3 weeks or
Yeah.
once
It's
every
kinda-
2 months.
kinda
Whenever we
in
get
limbo.
around to it, yeah.
Yeah.
So it started years ago as we were like both novice businessmen, and we were like just reading about how to grow and build a business. And I think I started a MailChimp and was like just trying to do the like weekly newsletter thing, and it had a little bit of success, but it never really fired. And then you started piloting it again, basically COVID,
Yeah.
and it
Came back in March.
yeah, it came back with a vengeance. It was awesome. That was really part of those people like championing us. We were doing, I remember the first couple weeks we were doing like 50 deliveries sometimes,
Yeah,
like a
we
week.
had,
It was
like-
nuts.
We had pictures of like when deliveries were like full going, and it was like a table like twice as long as this, just full of bags.
Yeah.
Wow.
But it was like awesome because we didn't have like a venue all of a sudden to do all this like extra wholesale. We just needed revenue to come from somewhere, and that was like Shane said, like we had, and we just accumulated like a crazy amount of new customers just based on word of mouth and people being really awesome with sort of, you know, telling their neighbor like, hey, I got this really awesome product coming. Like, it's like kind of weird, and like you don't go to a grocery store and like these two dudes show up with a bag of sausage and like that's it. But
Turbo
it's like,
shady.
Yeah.
There were so many times where I was like, you just like pull your car over and you get a brown bag and you give it to like
Oh yeah.
a very
Total
nice
drug-
looking person in
drug
Oak
deal
Bay.
looking situation.
Yeah, and it looks like rich people buying drugs from you. It's great.
A lot
I love
heavy
it.
drugs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, here's another good one. So we in Rock Bay, we used to work all the time at night. Like like I said, we'd go in at like 4 p.m. and work till sometimes in the summer like 5 or 6 a.m. And they would routinely throw roadblocks down at the bottom of Rock Bay.
Oh,
And me and you have been through so many roadblocks with coolers full of sausage at 5 in the morning. And I don't know why you get it way worse than I do. Like we both usually get grilled because it's like, what are you doing at Rock Bay at 5 in the morning? Like nothing good. right? Like, and we weren't either. We
general.
were just trying to go home. We were just like trying to be like, oh my God, I got to get to sleep. But
Because of my bad attitude.
yeah, it's because you're sassy, Kyle. You're sassy, Kyle. And yeah, I particularly remember this one time I go through a roadblock and the cop was just like, what in the, and I'm like tired and falling apart. And he's like, hey man, like, how's your night? And like, he's giving you the classic, like trying to figure out if you're drunk or weird or, and I was like, I'm just going home. I worked. And he's like, oh, like what's in the coolers? And he's like flashlighting my car. And there's like 4 full-size coolers in my car. And I like, without a beat, I was like, sausages, sir. And he's just like, pardon me? And I was like, sausages, sir. And he's like, what did you say to me? And I was like, my coolers are full of sausages. Would you like to see that? And he was like, no. And I was like,
Oh,
oh, really?
Is that how he answered?
Yeah, no, he was just like, he didn't know what to do. And they give you the rest of the spiel. And he like made a joke. And I was like, no, like I own a sausage company in Rock Bay and we're going home. And I have to like put these sausages in a freezer. And he was like, have a good night. Get out of here. I'm like, what's wrong with you? Yeah, we've both been stopped by the police many times at different parts of the day and had to explain that like we're just like trying to take sausages to like a farmer's market or, just weird.
They're out to get us.
I had one I was at a roadblock at the bottom of the hill outside my old condo building, and there was police on all sides of the intersection. And I actually asked the police officer one question. He didn't ask me anything. And I did a U-turn in between all the cars and all the cops looked at me and I pulled in my driveway and parked. It was the weirdest thing that when I did that. Yeah, it was so strange. Things that can happen in roadblocks.
I almost like, I mean, I don't really feel bad, but I always kind of do because it's just like all the interactions like with a police officer are so overthought, right? Where you're just like, oh my God.
Well, that one
is what I'm doing illegal? And
I
you're
know.
just like, you're like, I'm parking my car in my house. Like, I think it's fine. I think
the
it's
lights
fine.
came on behind me when I was driving home from Up Island a couple weekends ago. And I was like, I wasn't doing anything wrong. I was going the speed limit. Everything was fine. And I pulled over and I'm like, shit, what did I do? And then he just came up to my window and he's just like, oh, sorry, wrong car. I thought you were somebody else.
Whoa.
Carry on.
It's like, psych, gotcha.
Yeah, I was like, okay.
Yeah.
But in the intersection, I think I asked, because my condo building was right before the intersection. So I think the officer was walking over and I just said, is it okay if I do a U-turn and go park in my place? But he didn't actually ask me any questions. He just said, yeah, it's okay. But he didn't actually ask me anything. So I thought it was hilarious. So I flipped this U-turn and all the police officers were just staring at me because they're like, why are you doing a U-turn in between like 6 police cars in the middle of this intersection?
Probably why you didn't get a ticket, dude. They
I
just
don't
like,
know.
we're all arguing about like who's gonna write the ticket. Yeah.
It was interesting. It was
Tricked
good.
them.
So where have you guys been eating at during COVID?
We just had lunch today at Part and Parcel.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
Yeah.
They've gone through like a pretty big shift in the kitchen and in management. And we had a really good lunch there today.
What do you guys have there?
We did like a classic like little swap with we each had a sandwich and traded halves.
Yeah, that's a classic
Cute.
move.
Yeah.
Oh, so
yeah.
cute.
Cute.
Business cute.
Business cute.
We what do? We did the grilled cheese and then they had a pork shoulder sandwich. And then we did their like chicken fat rice. Which
That really
was-
sold us. They started a dish with chicken fat. And then there was words after that. And I was like, we got to eat the chicken fat.
It was
and then,
good.
Yeah,
It was like a really good rice dish.
pretty.
Isn't that incredible when you see an item and it just something stands out and immediately you just stop at that point? It doesn't matter what else is there. You're ordering that thing.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll forget it every time, right?
100%. Well, it's like the time I got veal brain when I was in Quebec City.
Cool.
Yeah, as soon as I saw that, I'm like, well, that sounds weird. I'm just going to order that.
Probably proper old in French. It's a nice
It
thing.
was I forget the type of restaurant it was, but it was very interesting. It's when I was sitting waiting for it to come to my table. That's when I started thinking about what the hell did I just order? I just ordered it because it sounded crazy. It was like a
It's too
ragu.
late.
It was really good.
Nice.
But yeah, I started thinking about it over like the 25 minutes it took to come to my table.
Yeah.
I'm like, maybe I shouldn't have done that.
Nah.
Let's just get a whole bottle of wine, please. We need to drink that anxiety away.
It was good though.
Sorry, what were you going to say?
I was just gonna say I've been doing Courtney Room a lot.
Yeah.
I like to shout out these guys that are actually like doing proper dining rooms. I know the COVID's like not crazy here where we are, but I think there's a lot of restaurants taking a lot of liberties right now, and just kind of playing it very loose.
I haven't been in a lot of places, but I've heard a lot of people say that a lot of places don't seem to be following the precautions that need to be followed.
I mean, it's like island life, but like just button it up a little bit. Like do your part.
We would never like call anybody out, but like when you really think about it, like dude, like it's one bad apple like spoils the bunch for everybody, and like everybody's struggling right now.
It's just rules, right? Like all those rules are there for a reason. Just play with them for a while.
Really eaten in anywhere. but the place that I loved was nowhere. Like I think they're doing it great there.
Yeah,
I felt very safe when I ate there.
Cubbies,
they went all in, man.
They went all in.
Yeah, like
all in.
Say what you want about how crazy and weird like that restaurant is. Like those guys they're serious about trying to deliver like the experience they want to deliver.
100,000,000%. And that's last night. The whole team from Hanks and Nowhere came with me to Wrap and Roll.
Yeah, we were pretty jealous.
It was a really good feast. It was amazing. I know.
Like you're gonna take us there as like some weird sloppy seconds tonight after.
But we
we went falafel,
there.
I guess.
We went there and it was cool.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to. I actually.
I go to Swans, so we both go to Swans a fair amount.
Swans is doing it proper too.
And I mean it's awesome there and it's safe. So
I've been doing Kuma Noodle quite a bit.
Oh yes.
I've only been to Kuma once.
Yeah, and it's not. I wouldn't say it's like the out of this world ramen, but it's very, very good and very affordable for my hometown like spot. It's like really close to where I live.
Okay, I enjoyed when I did go there. I really did enjoy it.
I like everything about that place except for the egg. Terrible egg.
Really?
You guys
talking shit about that egg.
Soft boil your egg more. It's like a hard boiled egg. I don't like that part of it. But other than that,
we have a good mutual friend who spent a lot of time in Japan, who did a lot of the carpentry here, and he would say there's two ramen spots. There's the local neighborhood ramen spot, and then there's like, your like fancy ramen place. And he was like, every neighborhood needs both. And he was like, you eat like of the 20 ramens you have a month or whatever, a year or whatever you like. He was like, you eat 18 or 19 at like the local ramen place, and like Kuma Noodle is the ramen place Victoria needs, and it has been for a long time. And it's like, the soft boiled egg thing is probably something they should figure out. But everything else there is so awesome, and it's so reasonable.
I just like the staff there.
I enjoyed it when I went in.
Yeah, they're so friendly. They have a bunch. Obviously they don't anymore because of COVID, but they've always had a bunch of manga on the shelf. Yeah. So you're like waiting for your noodle, and you can like pick up some Naruto or Bleach or whatever, and like
it's like not pretentious at all. It's like you said, just like it's like a neighborhood ramen spot.
I think when I was in there, I just pointed at something on the wall because they had a picture of the food on the wall or something. Yeah. I don't. Was the menu in English? I can't remember.
The menu was in English, but in like the best way, it is like a neighborhood, like ramen store. Like there's a bunch of like typos on it, and like it's like somebody took it on like their camera. It's like it's like bad in a way that is so good.
Yeah. I really enjoyed it when I was there. I thought it was great.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
It's a good reminder though, because I've only been there one time, and you've gone there since COVID.
Yeah.
And you felt it was.
It's pretty a ritual.
Yeah, I like there. I go there probably once every 2 weeks at least. But it was like one of the first restaurants that I went back to. I used to take ramen to go though. They weren't doing dine-in at all. But I think it's some of the best that I had was during COVID because they had no staff, but the owner still is there and cooks, and so he was making all the ramen, and it was particularly good when he was behind the full wheel because they weren't doing volume anymore. They were just kind of doing the takeout to goes and here and there, but yeah, a few bowls there that I had during that time were really good. But they're back to like dine in now, and they have stuff like set up so you can be distanced and whatever. But yeah, it's interesting because they do a really good ramen, but it's all chicken based, which is not traditional. It's hard to get like a nice thick chicken stock for a ramen bowl.
Okay.
Yeah, usually like tonkatsu, like pork gets you that gelatin real fast, but they do like a really decent all chicken broth.
And so have you traveled and had ramen other places?
No,
Vancouver.
Japan's on the list. Vancouver, yeah, I love Danbo. Danbo's like my favorite ramen place in Vancouver.
The first meal that Anton and I had in Japan was actually ramen.
Yeah.
We asked the people working in the hotel, where should we